Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ordinary Humans, Extraordinary Choices, a podcast about ordinary humans who've navigated periods of their life in extraordinary ways. The goal of this podcast is to show you that you can begin making extraordinary choices at any stage of your life to start making progress towards your dreams, and that you never have to accept that today needs to be like yesterday was. I'm your host, Vamsi, and today's ordinary human is Ben, also going by Poe, who's a player in our League of Legends esports amateur team. He plays the support role. He's also an indie game developer based in British Columbia, the same province that I'm in. I'm in Vancouver, but he's closer to like northern British Columbia, closer to more rural areas. Sorry, Ben, you said you live in a small town of how many people?
1,000. Let's
A
not.
thou-
Yeah, not try to dox myself here too much, but yeah.
Okay, got
it's
it.
small.
Got it. Roughly 1,000 people. Yeah. But the interesting thing is he's developed an indie game and recently released it, so we'll be going into that. And also my co-founder at Fragless Designs, my indie game startup. I think we've been incorporated about 3.5 years now, since August 2019. He wanted me to do a series of marketing podcasts. So this is going to be a sub-series on marketing. And so we'll primarily be focusing on marketing questions, how to market indie games, marketing in general. And if you've heard any of my previous episodes, you'll know that I'm interested in marketing even in a way of how it applies to life, philosophy, and this idea that, all of us are always selling, or that ethical marketing is about changing people in ways that they would like to be changed, and so on. So we'll get into that. Me and Ben are both INTPs in the Myers-Briggs model, which may be interesting. You may see some similarities in how we go on tangents, or how we discuss things, or how we enjoy conversation and deep exploration of ideas and abstract concepts. Okay, Ben, let's get into your projects and what you'd like to talk about, the self-promotion part.
So me and my friend Aria have been making games for like 2 years now, I think.
Mhm.
This is our third one in that time. It's got an itch and a Steam because we like freedom of choices. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I'm trying to upload a few more videos. It's not going great. It's like work and stuff, so
Do you want me to link that YouTube, or can you send it?
Yeah, the YouTube Word doc
Oh, it's in the Word doc?
or Dual doc, top one.
Oh, nice.
Team
Okay.
because I'm trying to
Perfect.
rebrand
Nice.
again.
So what's happened with the branding? Do mod. Okay, 3 subscribers.
Yeah,
so here,
3 subscribers.
Bad Game Dev
And
continues to be bad at making games.
That was made a month ago when I was trying to make a game a month, and then I didn't. And I'm gonna make an update video on that soon because I'm changing strategy again.
That's fine.
Yeah. Things don't work out, and it's best to just learn, right?
I mean, I've noticed this with me too. It's easier for me to start new projects than finish old ones. But I'm also starting to realize that could be a good thing, because it means that I quickly move on when I'm not learning, not improving. And I can eventually find stuff that really sticks, like with the podcast or interviewing people. That seems to be something that I'm really enjoying. So then I stick with that, But I've had to explore like 20, 30 failed things before finding that. So maybe I should have been failing faster.
I did actually have a game started for the first month, but I just could not find a way to finish it. And like, I didn't have any ideas on what it was actually supposed to be. It was just like a generic game with like, oh, it's got some stealth mechanics, it's got some enemy AI, but then I didn't have an idea on where it wanted to go, which was my conclusion was I needed to actually think about what I was doing. Like I needed a bit more ideas. I actually need to have an idea before I made the game, which
wait.
It's like a no shit Sherlock moment.
One moment. Sorry to interrupt you. I just realized something that's really weird. OBS.
More problems?
OBS, yeah, more problems. More life, more problems. OBS it seems to not be capturing your webcam if I'm looking at my browser. So look at this. You see, you're not on.
Oh, it's capturing.
But if I do this, no, just one screen. Oh, so I should connect 2 screens and then it'll be rendering both.
Yeah.
Damn. So I'm at the new place. I haven't set up the second screen, but that's good.
This is me flipping it out.
Oh god. So I need to like keep this. Wait, maybe I can keep this on the side for me, right? So I can do this, maybe. And
give me like 10 seconds.
Okay.
I think I can fix this real quick.
Okay.
I do like if you. It's gonna take me about 10 minutes actually, but
that's okay. It's worth it. Sorry, Papa. I know you're watching this live. Sorry to have to put you through this.
Dude, this dude's monopolized the Google Analytics. His YouTube videos #1. Was #1.
Honestly, the weird thing is like, if I just put in timestamps of like, oh, we were fixing some technical issues at this point, people can just skip that part. But there'll be some people who would actually like to see how we problem solve something together.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop using it on Discord. So
Sure, that's fine. Oh, I've been learning a song, by the way. The Amumu song. Yep.
Make a URL or bracket thing and add that link.
Okay, the browser it was a browser capture. Okay, I'll do that.
Not a browser.
No, it is URL. Actually browser, because
Okay.
It's weird. I thought browser meant like Windows, but that's just window capture, right? For browsers, this is actually like a web source sort of. So as long as it's the thing that has a link, yeah, I think it'll be the same. So this one, URL.
It should be able to just add it directly to OBS.
Okay, Video Ninja. So I should get OBS Ninja then. Okay, the URL with 800.
I think this is just a website.
Use custom frame rate control audio via OBS. Wait, there's audio. Okay, we need to make sure that there isn't extra.
I could just mute on there.
Oh, there it's working. Oh, nice. Okay, it is working. Perfect. This is awesome. Okay, so anyone with OBS Ninja could do this in the future, and I can help them set it up, of course.
This isn't even a desktop app. This is a web site.
So the website is capturing your webcam and then streaming it, which makes sense.
I don't know how secure this is. There's something I found on the internet
that has a lot of
Google Analytics.
Yeah, yeah.
It's only it's like they actually could be doing a lot of bad things to my PC.
God, not just bad things to your PC, but like the webcam feed could be like hacked or they
have complete access to my desktop right now, but
wait, seriously? Yeah.
Well, I clicked on a website. They have my IP.
Oh, they have your IP. But how do they have access to your desktop?
Well, they could be downloading packages in the background that I couldn't notice or something.
Okay. But
I mean, they're probably not, and I don't know how much control it's a website. Right? They have, when you click on a website, assume that, you know what I mean? I'm paranoid.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm very security conscious as well. Because, like, I started using
security conscious up until you get hacked, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, my colleague used to tell me something as well that I liked. He said it was like an engineer's motto, which is something like, there are only two kinds of people in this world. Those who back up their data and those who wish that they had backed up their data.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's similar, right? Those who are hacked ransomware and all sorts of other issues. Anyway, let's get back into the marketing. And actually, no, let's continue your promotion, right? So, Elong Plug is the game that you just made. You've been working with Aria on 3+ games. That's actually pretty impressive. I didn't know it was 3 games.
Give me a second. I'll link them all because the other 2 are on itch because it's easier to put there.
Right, because Steam charges you $100 just to make a page for a game, right?
Which is fair enough.
Fair enough, because they were trying to counteract what they call shovelware, right? Basically, garbage games that cloud up the platform and clog it up. So fair enough. Itch.io is much more indie. You can choose what you pay for many of the games. The developer gets more control. I think Itch takes 0% as well, unless the developer wants to contribute more, right?
I think it's like percentage based. Like once you hit a certain bracket, they can take a bit, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't made that much yet, so hopefully one day I have to pay someone money, as they say in the business.
By the way, I have a talk to share with you that you might like. What was it? Jake Birkett. He actually started full indie in Vancouver. He's based in England. How to survive in game dev for 11 years without a hit. You've probably seen it? Yeah, okay. Never mind then. I will put it in the show notes anyway. But it's funny that you and I have probably seen a lot of the same stuff. But I'm not an indie game developer. I guess when I get interested in a topic,
You're just go deep. You're not a developer, but you're acting more as a publisher.
In a way, I am doing what a publisher does. Yeah, I'm handling a lot of the non-game development aspects, which, you're right. Publishers do that. Yeah, I'm part of the studio. I'm one of the founders of it. So, it's time for the Invisible Pandemic. Calamity Condition is a short bullet hell game where you play as a time-slowing eyeball trying to discover the reason for your existence. This is pretty good copy. Who wrote this?
That would be my co-partner, Aria.
Aria, okay. Is Aria male or female? I can't tell by the name.
Male.
Male, okay. Because I'm pretty sure that's a unisex name. It could go either way. Benjamin Greenhay, Alex Castangue,
Yeah, no,
or
yeah, that's my name.
Castangue.
It's
Oh
a
wait,
bit
this
hard
is
to
you,
pronounce. Yeah,
or you're no Benjamin. Wait, which one are you? Oh,
I'm
you're
a
Ben.
programmer.
Yeah, you're Benjamin
Yeah,
Greenhal. Greenhal. Yeah. How do you
don't try.
pronounce it? Don't try
Green
it. Okay.
Hulsh,
Greenhalgh. Wait, is that Scottish or
British.
British? But wait. Okay, interesting.
As far as I know, it's British.
Yeah, because you look more genetically like related to Ireland or Scotland because you've got the red hair or the orange hair, right? Or well, not
It's
really.
brownish.
Brownish. But you've got like the ginger features, but maybe that is
Mhm.
British too. Because yeah, there were a lot of British
That
settlers
is
that
British.
had
Yeah,
features
it's
like yours.
European.
Yeah, European. Aiden Litton. Okay. Francisca Chonlong. Okay.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you should all check all those people out. They're fantastic.
Amy West. For the poem, there was a poem in there. That's really cool.
Yeah, little
Jan
marketing thing.
6th, published 2021. I mean, this is pretty good. I'm pretty sure that you're already an outlier in terms of people I could find to interview about indie games. Because many
Because
people
most
have
people don't
not.
publish.
Most
They
people don't
don't
publish.
release.
They
They
don't
just
release.
infinitely delay and delay and delay, which doesn't help your game.
By the way,
It
that's
doesn't help.
kind of yeah where we're at, right? It's been 4+ years, but we did go into this consciously deciding we don't want any crunch. We're not going to have any strict deadlines, and we're going to take as long as it takes
Mhm.
to release the first game. But I think the second and third game that we plan, we do want to. Am I still screen sharing my
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. At least for me, I'm not sure
Okay.
about the.
Yeah, yeah. Let me just check the OBS. Yeah, so they can see my browser at least. So,
Well, it's
yeah,
like the three triangle of success. You can get things done well, quickly, or cheaply.
exactly. Yeah,
Two out of the three.
yeah, and because we don't have money, we're bootstrapping. All of us are either working part time or like supporting ourselves from
Mhm.
savings or family funds or whatever it might be, right? We're basically bootstrapping and funding it ourselves because we want full creative control. If we got an investor or a publisher, yeah, we'd have money. But if they were going to pressure us on release dates or
You'd have to
deadlines,
get. You'd
yeah,
have to have deadlines. You'd have to have, which it's like everything. It's a trade off. So
it's a trade-off, yeah. And
I can respect both
we've
ways.
made our choice, yeah. Our choice is we'll take as long as we need for the first game. And the first game is basically a test run. We're going to see how it does. And then that, ideally, if it does well and proves out our process and system that we think we've innovated, but we don't know, right? We don't know until we get the results. But if it does well, then it'll fund our second and third game, and then we can do those much faster, right? I think the rough idea I got was we wanted to make all three games in 5 years, but that plan might have changed now. I would have to ask Josh. He's leading the design. He's a systems designer. He's our creative director and also lead designer and all that. He's fulfilling a lot of roles. But these are all his ideas, his games basically.
I will
But
say that ideas are cheap. Execution is hard.
yeah, I mean, there's a blog post on that. Like, ideas are a multiplier on execution, or vice versa. Yeah, execution is a multiplier on ideas. I'll link that in the thread and then we'll move on. Ideas are just a multiplier of execution by Derek Sivers.
That's
He's
Derek.
written a. You know him or know of him?
There's a lot of Derek's, but I think I might know.
Derek Sivers, yeah, he's done a lot of cool stuff. Programming. He had a
No, not that
startup that
one.
was a indie
That's
music startup. He was a musician. It's interesting to me, but like when I look at successful people, they seem multi-skilled, multi-talented, and they spend their 20s and 30s just building so many skills. Because you don't need to ever be stuck to one thing per se. But you can also specialize, right? You can also become like a top 0.01% programmer if you wanted to be.
it depends. Like the people that you're crediting in these, like when you see these people that are building their own brands, you're obviously gonna think they're obviously most likely going to be multifaceted because of the nature of their work.
True, because to run a startup,
They're
you have to wear
standing out.
multiple hats. Yeah.
They're standing out in not in an individual field, right?
Right. I see what you're saying. They're not standing out as just a producer, they're standing out as a builder of businesses, which requires
Mhm.
multifaceted, like the ability to learn, the willingness to learn multiple things, which you've also demonstrated. You said you were learning art. What was the book you were reading? Drawing,
Second
think,
edition of the drawing on
thinking
the right
with
side of the brain.
drawing on the right side. And I really like that because it's about drawing, but it's also about, pulling from the right side of the vein. It's like multi-meaning words, right? I
Mhm.
always love titles that are like that.
I
Where
do
it's
love
like,
how many caveats are in the beginning about just we should like the science doesn't quite support this, but
mhm,
because it has provable results, people keep using
right. I mean,
it.
yeah,
It's like the science are like, we don't know. It might do that. It might not. We are unsure, but as long
yeah,
as it keeps working, people keep using it.
yeah. So I guess what are your plans? Do you want to make another game? Do you want
Yeah.
to be more solo producer rather than working in a team?
Going solo for now. Just
Hmm.
do the situations, and
Okay.
I want to be building out brands, and like I'm focusing on some external things that like playing more League to help me focus on what are my problems with game development.
Hmm.
I am taking a step back right now, but I
Hmm.
do need to come back and say, hey, I didn't fuck up, but I did not hit deadline.
Hmm.
Making bigger deadline.
Makes sense. So okay, you're taking some time off to figure out what you want to do next, and then to learn some skills. And because I think
Mhm.
what you seem to be implying was that this partnership fell apart in a certain way, right?
It didn't fall apart. It's just
Different
we're both
priorities.
taking a break.
Okay. Because it sounded like you had to pull it through the finish line by yourself, and it
No,
was
no, no, no,
no,
no, no.
no,
Aria,
no,
it was very much we both did
a lot
tons of
of
work.
tons of work.
It's I
And
think he's going back to school right now, so
okay, is he going back to like what, like game development school or something else?
I think marketing. I think
Marketing. Interesting. So maybe I'll
yeah,
interview him as well.
yeah.
Okay,
I'll give you the connection.
cool. Yeah.
I don't know
Okay,
how.
so
I'll give him a link to the server.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Arya
we're
sounds
friends in
like an
this.
interesting person. So he
Yeah,
did the
I
copy. I guess what?
think
Yeah. What was the split? What complementary roles did you fulfill? So you probably did more programming. Did he do
he
like
did the
art?
creative side. I did the technical side. Basically, if something was technical,
Interesting.
I handled it. If he was like marketing or artistic or
Was he designing as well? Like level
designing, yes,
design? Okay, so he was
game
sort of
design and level
the
design.
so he was sort of the creative director, maybe even like the
Mhm.
vision, and you were more the chief technical officer in a way. You implemented
Yes.
everything technical that had to get done. You understood the technology, how to make it happen. So you were almost the COO. This is interesting because Evan has constructed our esports organization sort of like that, where he's the head doing vision, and then I'm trying to implement his vision on a day-to-day basis. So operations rather than uh, high-level stuff. And then Tony's similar, but for the esports department, I think. Whereas I'm doing the more community side and the Discord because we have two business lines.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting. All right, so yeah, let's dive into the marketing. And yeah, I'll put all of these links in the description. And guys, please check out his game, check out
Oh
his
yeah, and there's a third
stuff.
game there.
Oh, okay. Just add it to the doc. Calamity Condition, Elong
Eh,
Plug, Painting Lacey. Okay, this is interesting. So one thing that
this
me
was
and
our first game.
Josh have been discussing a lot is narrative games, right? Because
Mhm.
what we want to do with our studio is build a brand where we're creating games that they kind of have you heard of the term ludo narrative dissonance?
Yes,
So
that
we
was
yeah.
very much goal on this one, I believe.
Okay, and I can tell, like, but just by the title, I could tell that this is going to be a narrative game, right? This is going to be something that
Okay.
like
So
lured.
what mechanics can enforce story, right?
Exactly. Mechanics can enforce story and narrative. They can immerse you. They can change your emotions. Um, okay, so let me think one sec. So just to explain ludo narrative dissonance for listeners, it's basically. I mean, here. Why don't I just pull up a
F1
definition?
GDC talk. Or
So
well,
basically, yeah, it's a conflict between the narrative told through the story and the narrative told through the gameplay because both of them give you a feeling for the story. So I wanted to pull up the etymology because it's really interesting of how Ludo narrative and we know what dissonance is, right? So dissonance from sound is like when something doesn't. Consonance is when it works together, or resonance it works well together, and dissonance it's not working well together. It's a cacophonic, right? It's kind of annoying to hear or to see. It doesn't fit. Let me see. Why are there no like etymology pages? Is this like is there? Do you know a website by the way that just does etymology for words, like explaining where the origin of words and
this one
breaking it
I
down?
know a few, but I don't know if like the problem is it's very much a term that exists within a niche, which
Oh,
is
so it's
gaming.
jargon. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
jargon.
because it actually like when you break apart the words or the subwords, the sections of the words in this term, it makes perfect sense. So
Mhm.
that's why I don't think of it as jargon. I usually think of jargon as things that don't have good etymology generally. Or but yeah, you're right. It is a niche term because most people don't think in terms of etymology. It's one of my hobbies. But so narrative, we know what that is. What is ludo? So maybe I need to look ludo meaning Latin. That's how I can do it. No, that's a board game. From the Latin ludo to play. Okay, there we go. So ludo means to play. Narrative, we know what narrative is, which is the story or
It basically
the
describes the role between narrative and
Mhm.
what you're actually doing in the game, because
Right.
you can get in some weird situations where
Right.
murdering 10,000 people, and then it's like, I'm doing this for peace. And it's like, bro, you just caused genocide on Dead Redemption 2 for
Wait,
fun.
didn't that happen in Modern Warfare? There was like I played that Call of Duty game where you're just gunning down people in an airport and you're basically a terrorist, kind of. Like
Mhm.
it's ultimately what you're doing. And then I'm like, wait, what am I doing in this game? Because it's. But I think the David Deutsch
That's
has an interesting article as well on like he predicted this back in 1990s of like people being worried about video games having violence. But the funny thing is, like video games having violence is not necessarily like people know that even children know the difference between a simulated reality and actual reality, right? They're not.
But yeah, but it's not.
We're,
It's going to keep causing moral panics as long as people do keep doing bad things.
yeah, but it's. I think it's a correlation. Like people are correlating two things incorrectly, and it's driving them away from the actual source of the problem, which is things like loneliness, things like mental health issues, things like we literally bully people and we make them feel like outcasts, and we also make them feel like they need to change themselves to fit into society. So of course there's going to be resentment and outliers and things that break out into violence or self-harm or suicide or all sorts of problems, right?
Mhm.
But if we want to address the root cause, and that's partly why we're making video games, right? Because we believe interactive media has the potential to change the way people feel. And of course, changing the
Yes.
way people feel is far more important than changing the way that they think, because, well, actually, I think changing their thoughts is important, but doing it through their feelings is an easier way, kind of. It's a direct path if we can do it. It's obviously just harder to execute. So tell me about Painting Lacey here.
Little game about painting,
Yeah.
and that's what you paint stuff.
You paint your way to excellence at work, you paint at home, but you can't seem to keep them separate. Uncover a story about the balance between work and life. A story about color and its leaking nature. A 10-minute story about a lifetime of habits. I like this last line. Arya wrote this as well.
Yes.
A 10-minute
Marketing
story about a
genius.
lifetime of habits. Yeah, it would be really interesting to have you plus Arya on for like a group episode at some point. It would be nice to see what you both
Yeah.
think about things. Yeah. Poem Ariel Filipovich. How did you find all these poets and people
Uh,
to work with?
I think that one, they're mostly his contacts. I think that one was from VFS. And it's a
Yeah.
little thing
Uh,
we've been
uh,
putting in where
I
at the
was going to
start of each
mention
game.
VFS at some point because I was wondering, is that where he's going or what is he doing?
Yeah,
But
a lot of our contacts are from there.
he's probably doing marketing somewhere else, I would think. Uh, but here, I will link one of these ludonarrative things in the thread. And then, yeah, let's get to the Google Doc here. So you're able to edit it. So let's talk about pricing and timing on sales. Or should we start at a higher level? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, because I wouldn't start at pricing and sales because usually that comes after you've had a success on a release. Yeah.
Okay, so how do we
I don't,
release successfully? So let's say,
hmm.
yeah, yeah, you're right. Let's use time as our dimension to start. So let's say that we are 1 year before releasing our game. What should we be doing, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
For
give me a
marketing.
second. I can just go
Yeah,
through.
go ahead.
Where's the sorry, tabs are just looting a bit because if you just like let me just bring this up a bit. I think a good spot to start would be oops. Uh, what are your goals for the marketing and where you want to be? Because don't know where you want to be, you're going to end up in nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, you have to understand what your goals are on any individual project, and then you can judge what you should be doing for the individual project, right?
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
it almost feels like this is a timeline because they're not really. There's some questions in here, but
Oh, so wait, you think that things because what this was me and Josh literally brainstorming. What is everything we know about marketing? Because we know that what we know is like very small percentage of what an experienced marketer would know, right?
mhm.
So I think everything with the square bullets and stuff. This is all Josh's thing, and then you can see mine is at the bottom. I put a few things, five items. But Josh was sort of just brain dumping, right? So
Mhm.
really, ideally, I should have organized this before interviewing you, but we were in a rush. I need to get an episode out for Monday
Yeah.
and so on. But this is a fine start. We'll organize it together. We'll work on it. Um, so what you're saying, I think that I'm hearing is something like we need to know what our goal for each individual product is. So that's the one question. What is our goal
Yeah.
for each? Now, how do we define that? Like, for example, does applying SMART goals thing, like being specific, measurable, attainable, or whatever, realistic, timed,
Probably. Like
whatever.
super.
Attainable and realistic seem like redundancies, so I'm thinking I'm getting one of those abbreviations wrong. Let me just
Yeah,
look
I'm
it
just
up.
gonna. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course. Relevant, of course. Yeah, relevant is actually way more important than yeah. I'm gonna put it down. And so, what is our goal for each individual product? So I know that we had some sales tier because the thing is we're looking for collaborators, and since we can't afford to pay salaries, we have no money. We're going to be giving them a percentage of the product's revenue, or offering them like a stepping percentage, which basically means the more products we sell, I think the more money they make, and also we increase the percentage that they get because we really don't need a lot of money for the company. We just need enough money to make our next game, right? That's sort of
Mhm.
our goal. I forgot what we
Build up the
budgeted.
budget.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
don't think.
even if you have no budget, you still have a budget.
Yeah, we have a sort of intangible conceptual budget because I don't think Josh likes to tie himself to specific numbers because he knows that if we can spend 200,000 on the game instead of 100,000, he can make it better. He can make it significantly better. We can hire voice actors or whatever else, right? He knows how to use money to make games better.
Mhm.
So more money
Well,
is always nice. Yeah, up to a certain point.
in my
Yep,
mind, time is always money. So how
time
much
is
time
yeah,
people put into something
right.
is
Time is
considered a
always
budget,
money.
even if it's
Yeah,
unallocated.
yeah, because and this is something Jake Birkett talks about in that talk, right? He says you need to count your time as being worth something. Like because and Jonathan Stark, a marketing guy, also talks about this idea that profit is not. I think even Seth Godin mentions this. Marketing or sorry, profit is not the amount of money you made. If you spent an hour doing a job for someone and you made $100, profit is what you would have made if you could have found and hired someone else to do that job, say for $50, and maybe the amount of time you spent finding them was worth $25. Then you're making a $25 profit, right? You
Mhm.
spent $75 sourcing the result. And that's how businesses work, right? They make a profit by taking on risk, by handling all the marketing, all of the work that goes into finding people and creating work and all that. So an employee generally is just given the work and they do the work and they're in a system and they are not taking much risk relatively. They're not handling the marketing and the sales and all of the downstream and upstream aspects of their job, right? The business is taking on all of that. So just as an aside, real quick, like for people who think businesses don't add value or like owners of businesses are not adding value, like this is everything that they're doing for that is making an employee's life easier. And the employee is also the one producing the work. But I really hate it when people sort of advocate for this idea that the employee is the only one who matters and they're the production in it. Like there's so many things being produced in an entire business line. Anyway, sorry for the rant. What do you think we should go into next in terms of the marketing of this product?
Oh, assuming you have your goal, like it's
Yeah,
just one comment on that is
sure.
even if you say you don't have deadlines, you do have deadlines because you can't keep
We're
working
gonna
on
run out
something
of money.
forever. Not
Well,
even run out of money. You're going to run out of motivation. You're going to run out
okay.
of like
So
it will begin to seem unattainable if you continuously push
right.
forever.
So limited resources are money,
People
time,
will
motivation. Yeah, it will begin to seem unattainable if we're not continually
people that
making
were once
progress.
interested will move on because it hasn't come out. That's
Right.
why having no deadline is actually a very scary prospect for
Okay.
indie devs.
Interesting. People that sorry, can you repeat that last part? People that were interested will
Say you got like,
Mhm.
let's say you got 50 people looking at a post on Twitter. If
Right.
that game doesn't come out, if that game comes out in another 5 years, those 50 people are going to be gone.
Right. So it's also the audience, not just the collaborators, people on the
Mhm.
team, because those will leave too, right? That will happen
Time,
as well.
mhm.
Yeah.
Time keeps
Well,
moving on.
yeah, 50 people looking to post on Twitter. So basically, what I would call that is hype, right? Hype dies
Mhm.
down and has to be rebuilt or maintained over time. And I think that's something marketing is about as well, which is
Mhm.
continually keeping the world's attention on your game despite it not being playable.
And
And yeah,
it's not impossible, and it's very given, and you can there's a lot you can do with that. Like
hmm
look at game devs on YouTube, but it does have a cost. It's not free.
right. There's a cost. It's not free. Free to continually. So Ashes of Creation is the MMO that comes to mind. My last interview was with Justin, the 7 hour one. He's a fan of Ashes. He's in my guild. I'm a fan of Ashes, but it's been in a sort of release. People have been waiting for it to come out to alpha or beta. And the devs thing is it'll be out when it's out. And until then, we'll just keep sharing an update every month and that's it. So you
Mhm.
have no idea when
That's
it'll come out until maybe 6 months before it comes out. So it could be
That's
another
not a
3
bad
years.
strategy because they're still updating, they're still keeping it going. But
Yeah, people like it. Like there are many people who are supporting it. Of course, there are people complaining about it, but yeah.
there is a cost. They're not doing those updates isn't free. Like
No, and they have a big team. They're spending tens of millions every year,
of
right?
investors'
So
money, I assume, or
they
is
have
it?
investors. So
Yeah.
Stephen Sharif, the founder, I think he had a startup that he sold. So he's one of the major investors in it. But he had a lot of startup cash, like
Mhm.
I think over 100 million, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have that, right? So
Yeah.
what we had to start up with was maybe, I mean, I think I paid for almost everything. I would say maybe like we've spent $3,000 roughly, maybe a bit more. We bought our audio engineer like $1,000 Mac thing to do his music on. So
Mhm.
I'd say maybe 3 to 5,000 is what we've put in so far over the last 4 or 5 years, which is actually not bad in my opinion.
For that length of time, so yeah.
Yeah, three to
We
five thousand. Yeah, over 4 years.
I'm not sure I can pull up the individual spreadsheets on the last few games, but usually budgets
Mhm.
been it's basically like, oh, we need blank. Like I think I put the cost of Git hosting on there, and it's like
Right.
$3 a month or something. So it's
Yeah, we
I
have.
think in total our
Yeah.
projects have only gone into hundreds.
Do you know Ultimate Chicken Horse?
Yes.
Apparently, one of their founders. It's really interesting. They were based in Montreal. It was founded Clever Endeavor Games. Their founder, I forgot his name, Richard. Let me find it. Yeah, Canadian Studios, Clever Endeavor Games. Who was the founder?
And if anyone's
Richard Atlas. Here, this guy. What's interesting is that he made an Excel sheet of their budget and he shared it with everyone publicly. And he gave it in a GDC talk, right? And I wanted to fill that out with my team, and I think we did make some progress on it, but like we never actually filled it out fully. But he
there's
seemed
been a
like a
lot
really,
of
yeah,
yeah, because they basically working for free until they hit success.
exactly.
I remember watching his talk, but I don't remember the spreadsheet.
Or it's either him or it was Kid Fox Games also did a talk where they shared a spreadsheet. Let
Yeah,
me,
there's been a lot
Richard,
of like because I mean game devs love spreadsheets.
yeah. Richard
I mean, it's
Atlas
for
YouTube.
fun.
I just remember he had a really small YouTube channel that had like 2 subscribers or something. Um, and I believe he's also bilingual because he's in Montreal or Montreal or however people say it. Richard Atlas. GDC talk. Get to know a day game dev. The problem is like I saw this years ago, so now he's done so much more content and talks. Numbers behind indie success. This was it. He did a collaboration talk
Yeah, I remember
with
this one.
and Tanya, Kid Fox Games, right? So yeah, these two. That's
Mhm.
why I remembered them as two. So here I will link this in the interview
Yeah, I've seen it
thread,
too.
and then
It's like, yeah, we're watching the same stuff. It's GDC. This is the best free
yeah,
resource out there.
of course it is. Yeah, it's amazing. The talk layout. Where's the spreadsheet? And this is an interesting marketing strategy, right? YOLO Studio. We are YOLO
Commenting.
Studio, an indie game studio. We love making games. We're seriously learning about the game industry. So we tweet a GDC video summary every Tuesday. Happy making game. So this is a great way to market, in my opinion, which is you add free value for people, and then it's mutually beneficial because you also advertise yourself a little bit. But you
Mhm.
don't do it in a tasteless way. You do it in a tactful way that is tasteful.
They're still providing value.
Yeah,
There's
people
I've
appreciate
seen
it.
the same thing done a lot less, like with a lot less respect.
Exactly. And it builds less trust. But this actually builds trust. It doesn't hurt it. Because now I'm like, oh, that's really cool. They're putting in some work to make some timestamps for me. And I've done
I'll get a
timestamps
click
for
on it.
videos. It takes time, you know. It's maybe a 5 minute task, but that's still, it takes some focus. It's not,
So what's your YouTube page? Ah,
what,
yes, the anime.
wait, what? This one?
Yeah.
So this is my personal channel. I can switch
Ah,
over to this one, Ordinary Humans, Extraordinary Choices. And then this is the one with the logo that my brother made.
fair
So I
enough.
have both. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. No, I'm glad you brought it up, by the way. Don't feel bad about anything you bring
yeah.
up. Like, I can tell that your mind works very similarly to mine. It goes on tangents and it connects seemingly disconnected facts to build an intuition that is
Mhm.
actually going to be very creative and strong compared to people who are only following a linear path, right?
It's
You
just
are,
don't
yeah,
use personal Google accounts when doing profession. Like, because if this
professional
does blow
stuff.
up, you don't want people spamming that or like digging through it.
Ah,
Protect
okay.
yourself before you need to protect yourself.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Preventive measures.
Yeah. So basically, build good security, yeah, and protection before it's necessary because by the time it's like it'll be too late, right? Once I'm already been hacked or
Mhm.
attacked or robbed or whatever, I won't,
Or just like if
yeah.
Spox blows up, you got 1 million subscribers tomorrow.
I don't expect that to
I
happen,
don't.
but yeah, if it does happen,
Well, that's the
yeah,
theoretical. Like this is just like best case scenario. It's just like,
yeah,
hey, what's on your personal YouTube channel, man? Like, they can dig through it.
I still can't find his spreadsheet. I remember that he linked it on a weird like Google Drive or something in the talk, but I'll dig through it later. I don't want to put the viewers through that. Or the
I don't want
listeners.
to talk with.
Yeah. Okay, so 3 to 5,000 CAD. Where did we leave off? I like having notes like this because it helps me come back from the tangents to what's important. So
Schedule. Yeah.
absolute values, limited resources. Yeah, what do you think's next? So you know our resources, you know our timeline roughly. Let's say we have a year until we release. Now, if that takes 2 years instead of 1 year, whatever, right? It happens.
Move this.
Sure. Yeah, feel free to completely tear apart this thing, change it however you like. Like it's completely yours, right?
Well, it just seems a bit like I'm trying to go in a logical order of how you should be making these decisions, or at least how I would go. Because obviously, your step one is assuming you're viewing this from purely marketing. You're going to say, what are we doing here? What are our goals?
Yeah, and I can tell that you're doing a better, because Josh has been trying to teach me his top-down thinking process, which is to start with the plan and the goal, and then to move down, because I tend to do things bottom-up, which is just start doing what feels good, and then see what happens, and then build the thing from that. So,
together, it depends on what you're building, right? And how you're trying to build it.
Depends on,
again, if we're just talking about like this in the purely hypothetical, then it's going to be easier to talk about it top-down.
Right. Except not for me. It's unintuitive for me, but that's why I'm learning it. And I can see that you are having an easier time thinking top-down a little bit. So you're able to.
It depends on what I'm building, and like when it's completely hypothetical like this, I do find it's easier.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, one thing with INTPs, right? It seems like we prefer abstract principles, and for Josh, he's always asked me, "Can you give me an example? Can you concretize it? Can you make it real?" And for me, I'm just like, I often don't need examples. The abstract principle, I'm very comfortable with. I can form 10 examples from an abstract thing if you explain it to me well enough.
Examples are useful when you're trying to justify. Like I find their examples are useful when you're trying to justify a concept, not explain it.
Justify. Well, justify. What is justify in this context? Prove it.
If you say or convince someone this is a fact, and I'm like, okay, but I feel like this is an opinion. Can you give me an example? That's how I often try and reinforce that.
Okay, makes sense. So basically, a proof of concept, an example where it works in the real world, where it happened that way. Yes. But it's more like anecdotal. It's not proof. It's just a little bit.
If you can reference a real world example of something happening, and it feels it feels a lot better to me.
Makes sense.
Than just saying something and then it's not even about trust. It's just like, is there some other detail I'm missing that doesn't helps me click in my head?
Right. And that's the thing, is an example can help you fill in the blanks of like, how would it look in the real world situation?
Because I don't know. It's not like I don't ever like to commit to absolutes. Like I don't think I don't know. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this.
It's fine.
It's just like never commit to anything completely. Always remain flexible, right?
Ish. Anyway. I mean, at some point, like full sending it on something has its own purpose, right? Like that's what I realized.
Always remain flexible, even on remaining flexible.
Moderation.
Moderation.
I mean, this is like Pyrrhonism, right? Like a hard what is it? Hard skepticism, like the philosophy where you need to be so skeptical that you're even skeptical of your skepticism.
Right? Cynicism in its truest form.
Yeah. So you need to be open to everything. I view it as fallibility. That's personally my thing. I like Karl Popper's view on fallibility and his idea that, we're always wrong in ways that we don't know about, and that's okay. We don't need to be certain to move forward. We just need to know that we don't see any major problems with it that are stopping us from achieving our goals, and then we do it. And then we learn from it. We start with common sense and we make progress infinitely from there. And anyone can start anywhere and reach any other point by just making progress from there. But making unbounded progress is easier said than done. Because we sabotage ourselves, we get in our way. There are lots of things that make it hard for us to keep making progress and learning. But yeah, I'd love to get into that at a later point. Like I'm pretty sure you and I would have interesting philosophy conversations in the future. It's okay, marketing. So how do you want to continue this?
I'm just sort of like dragging stuff up that I feel like
that you actually want to talk about.
Similar.
Yeah. So you're
marketing
categorizing these things. Yeah.
So it's definitely, you can definitely see it's a brain. What's the term? Like a brain plop.
Sorry, a brain dump. Is that?
Yeah, brain dump. There we go.
Right. Yeah.
My brain just farted.
Sorry, you cut out again. Your brain is just.
Brain fart.
Oh, brain fart. Yeah. That happens to me too. By the way, how old are you?
21. Already balding.
21? Okay, I'm 27. Yeah. Interesting. Because I think you're very sharp for a 21-year-old. But it's not just sharpness, it's also some aspects of wisdom. And I guess here's one thing I've noticed. When people are honest and they speak their mind, they tend to also interact better with reality. There's less wishful thinking. They interface better with, because one thing I've noticed is that, as far as I can tell, you don't really lie to me, you know.
I don't lie intentionally. Like,
Right. You lie
I will,
unintentionally. Yeah.
I will like when I say lie intentionally, I mean if I don't want to tell you something, I probably won't. Like if I can
Exactly.
soft lying.
Yeah, yeah. Or you'll tell
Yeah.
me like, "Hey, I don't want to tell you that." Or so to me, it's okay to lie to protect your privacy, right? Like,
Lie to protect your privacy or lie to
or
protect
protect
other
yourself from
feelings.
criminals. So protect other what?
Protect people from themselves, right? Like if
How do
I'm
you?
like
Yeah. What's an
white
example?
lie, white
White
lying.
lie. Okay, I don't like white lying at all. Or like, the gift thing. Oh, I get a gift and I sort of imply that it's okay even though I actually dislike it. I would rather just tell the person, sorry, this gift isn't for me. I really appreciate the thought and I value it, but
It,
please
de-
take it back and return it and keep the money, or you can give me the money if you want it.
it depends on the
But
situation. Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
when I say white lie, I just mean like, hey,
Hmm.
if I think this is not going to help you and you're not going to gain any value from telling you the truth, I won't say it, right?
Okay, we have a different view on honesty. So let me just make a note. Let's discuss honesty later because I think that would be interesting.
That's yeah.
Yeah,
It's not exactly. This
Sam
is gonna be.
Harris.
This
I see.
podcast is going everywhere. But
I
it's
mean,
good.
that's
But like,
normal. Yeah, that's the 7-hour episode as well with Justin. I know this will happen when I talk with other INTPs, basically. But yeah, we'll stay on track with the marketing thing. That's why I'm making a note to discuss it later, right? Like, or on a future episode. Uh, but so when you don't, here's the thing: you knowing that you don't lie intentionally also means that you are more honest than most people about honesty, because most people don't view self-deception as something that they're doing on a daily basis. Like, I know that I'm lying to myself all the time. It's just a web of self-lies that I'm slowly untangling and becoming more conscious of and becoming more self-aware about. So like, honesty is a process. I don't expect to become an honest person suddenly.
there's
It's
being
it,
honest, and then there's the reality of a situation. And the closer those two things can be together, the better you're gonna find your results.
right. Yeah,
Lying
like,
always backfires in the long run. So
I agree. And because you start to lie to yourself, it's really hard to lie to others and then be honest with yourself. Reality is already hard enough to interact with honestly. If you start lying to others, you're kind of just giving up on interacting with reality in a honest, pragmatic way. So, okay, you've categorized marketing goals, marketing resources, marketing campaign lengths, and phases. I like that, yeah. So all of that kind of comes into the question of what should we do in the year leading up to the release of our game. Now, I don't think we're even releasing our game in a year. It's like we've got this strange, how do I put it? One interesting thing that you like about Josh probably is that he's done a lot of my marketing work already by designing the game a certain way,
mhm. Yes,
right?
that,
The game is
most of
designed.
a
Mhm.
game sells itself, right?
Right. So an example is that there's custom content in the game. Um, it's basically, since he's a systems designer, he's leaning into his strengths, and he's designed the systems of the game in such a way that we can rebalance various genres. So it's a multi-genre game. We can add retro genres and maybe even non-retro genres. And so that means the game is scalable, it's expandable, it's modular. So if the game does well, we can add more content
Mhm.
cheaply, relatively cheaply. If the game does poorly, we can make the next game, like we
Using the
have
same
options.
systems
Yeah, we get flexibility.
because building things takes time,
We're
and the
probably
more
not
you can
going to,
reuse.
yeah. I don't know if we'll use the same systems in the next game because his next game is very different. So maybe let me briefly walk you through the 3 games that we plan so you
Mhm.
have an idea of, because they are very different. And our plan might change if game 1 doesn't do that well, right? We might switch the order. We might do game 3 second, or we might come up with a different game to do second instead. So I would say Jacka it stands for Jump and Click Adventure. That's just the project name. Um, it's basically about an AI assistant, virtual assistant tandem. So this is like in the far future. Imagine that you had a great great grandchild, right?
Mhm.
And they kind of ask themselves, what did my great great grandfather Ben do for fun, right? Or in his spare time, or what were his hobbies? And then this company that made this virtual tandem, they have Google's data, they have Facebook's data, they have all of the data from today's generation, and past it, they've aggregated all of the personal data, and they've created a search database that they're trying to run ethically. But they're a big data company, so what do you expect? They probably have some failures. Um, in protecting it, the data and all that. So your great great grandson types into the search bar, what do you do for fun? This virtual tandem box actually is able to go back into a simulated version of your desktop computer with Windows 10 or whatever it is you're running, right? And we'll have some even previous people with like Windows 7 or older, even Windows XP, Windows 2000, right? Different UI elements and things like that. So in a way, it's like that. If you've seen that Stickman versus Creator video, you've probably seen it, right?
Yep.
Why is it not on YouTube? Here we go. Stickman versus Creator. I'll link this. Yeah. But yeah. Oh wait. Yeah. So it's sort of similar to that, where you are platforming on a desktop. And then as you get into interactions, I'm just putting this in the thread. As you get into interactions with things, for example, a security system, an antivirus system from the past, then you go into different genres of games. That might be a beat 'em up. That might be a shoot 'em up. That might be a retro, whatever it is. So the idea is, and we're putting in cross progression between these various things, so that if you're someone who enjoys shoot 'em ups less, you can play the beat 'em ups that you enjoy more to make your character stronger, to then power through the shoot 'em ups, right? Things like that. But to go back to the general story and idea, is we can have custom rooms. So we plan to, those lo-fi videos where they're showing like a room and a person in front of it with like short animations. We plan to make custom rooms like that, and they're fairly cheap to make if you have a picture of a room. And so one way that this markets itself or offers opportunities for collaboration and marketing is we can get ambassadors or content creators, like streamers, whoever it might be, to take a picture of their room. And then we can create a custom level from that, right? And a picture and like a screenshot of their desktop or whatever it is. And that could be win-win, because they would like their viewers might like seeing a look into their room, their desktop, and things like that, having a level designed after them.
Yeah, that one's a bit hazy.
Okay, how does it feel? How does it make you feel?
Problem is people might struggle with privacy.
Personal information, yeah, privacy. So privacy concerns, room. So they would, and it could be a lot of work for them to try to clean up their room and make it have no identifying details and all that, right? Room marketing plan. Okay, that's a good thing to mention. Good.
Like that. I don't know the full depth of it. I don't know the inner workings of the game. Like when you say,
ask me any questions you have.
My problem with pitching this game is. When you say multi-genre, it becomes very hard to picture what you're going with.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
Like if you're saying there's like, when you have all these different game modes, I can still see some version of the game, but fundamentally most games always have a core loop. So it's going to be, how does the core loop connect all of these game modes together, and how, like, are you going to have skill trees in that? Because that would be the only way I can see cross progression between the game modes working.
And yes, I think there are skill trees, there are power-ups, and you unlock ways to customize your skills basically across different genres, I think. But I need to ask Josh more.
I have a very that is my biggest problem with this. Being very blunt here, I have a hard time picturing what this game is. Like, I can understand the story, I can understand probably,
but you don't know what the gameplay is like, right?
The fact that it said, what was it, jumping app? No.
Jump and click adventure. Jump and click
adventure. That makes me think platforming with like some custom platforms.
Right.
But generally, a game that does one thing very well is better than something that does three things mediocrely. So if you can do all these three things amazingly, you're gold, right? But it's hard to picture a game that does I would need to see gameplay before I can have a better picture of what this game is, because it's too hard to picture right now.
Yeah, as soon as we have, so we're actually going to start testing soon. I told you that already, right? You offered to be a tester. So that's when you'll start to get a look into the gameplay. We'll have different genres, different levels that you can actually play through. But just to give you one example from what I remember, the irony is I probably know the least about the game from everyone on the team, because I'm the one working least on it,
You're marketing.
I'm marketing, business, legal, contracts, everything, right? Accounting, bookkeeping, incorporation. So, but yeah, for now, management. Yeah, let's say operations. Yeah. Business side. But I think because I'm interested and I ask a lot of questions and I pay attention and I remember things, I do tend to know things that other people don't sometimes. So one thing I remember is we had a little clip of a shoot 'em up retro thing. So the shoot 'em up games, right? That are kind of like you're a spaceship traveling forward and there's enemies coming at you. The screen's moving forward.
Yeah, we made one. Calamity Condition.
Yeah, you made the eyeball one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what's interesting about what we're doing, because Josh's theory was that retro games have their own niches and markets and people who love them. They love beat 'em ups, they love shoot 'em ups and all that. But no individual retro game has enough of a market to be wildly successful on its own in the modern era. But if we can combine them, we could create something. But again, like you said, we have to do each of them well. They have to be done well individually. If we can't do them well, then it'll suck because we'll do nothing well, right? We'll try to do 5 things and none of them will be amazing.
Mhm.
But I have faith in Josh, actually. I think that his experience and expertise as a systems designer and just his involvement in video games over the last 15 years, because he was telling me the average video game development career is about 7 years because people burn out really fast, they get taken advantage of. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can go into. Problems with the industry. You're probably familiar with many of them.
It's got all the problems of the tech industry with all the problems of the art industry.
Right, and none of the benefits of the high salaries from software development, right? That's the problem. Is people go into games expecting it to be special, but it is software development.
It's not. It's just
Yeah.
standard creative industry, as I call it.
Right, but because there's so much supply of people wanting to go in, and there's relatively,
Welcome
the
to the meat
demand is,
grinder, man.
yeah, it's the meat grinder, right? So they get underpaid because of their dreams and hopes and vision, and then they move on to software industry or something else in 7 years, because they realize, shit, this isn't working out. And that's why one of our core goals here in the About Us page is sustainability, right? The problem, vision. By the way, job stability. By the way, Evan looked at this website. He was like, "This website is awful. Let me make you a better one." So I'm like, "Yes, please help us." So he's gonna help us.
I mean,
with a
I think
better
you got the
website.
same picture twice there.
Yes, we do. I mean, this is kind of just a repeating pattern.
Stock images, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By the way,
I know the struggle.
I appreciate you being blunt and honest and critical, right? That's what we need. I don't need
some people-
someone,
yeah.
blowing air up our
Some people
ass
hate
and
this,
doesn't-
but
yeah,
it's not worth they're gonna hate it no matter what.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I would rather honest criticism will help us improve a lot faster and better than if you were complimenting me or flattering or praising the project or whatever. Just tell me the truth. Tell me what you think, and then we'll improve it. Yeah.
One thing I've seen that is very accurate is these retro game genres have very, very small markets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say markets, I mean like player bases and people who are willing to buy these games.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's impossible to get them to
Mm-hmm.
get that small audience. You don't need a large audience, even moderate companies.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to capture all of it, and you just need to have a very complete capture of that small audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I would question when I hear, "Oh, we're gonna have all these genres and bring them together," is what about the bullet hell genre? Are people from the platform genre gonna like? And
That's a good question.
Are you
That's a
gonna
good question.
force players to play all the sections, or are you gonna force them to, or can they just choose? In which
Right.
case, you're missing a third of your if let's say you have 3 genres, because that's just a good number for what this kind of example would bring.
Right.
Are a third of your players not going to see 2/3 of your content on
So,
average?
Are 1/3 of our players not going to see 2/3 of our content on average?
I don't even think that, because I'm guessing
I don't think so. No, I think they'll get to explore a lot of it. I think he said something like
But
the
are they
game will
forced-
take about 40 hours to play if you explore a lot and play through a lot of it, or 20 hours if you just go straight line start to finish.
that's a
Short game?
long game.
Oh, that's a long game. Oh, I thought that was short.
I think the average indie game isn't Celeste 8 hours, and that's a pretty long one.
Because oh yeah, I guess Celeste. I didn't. But it's weird
30
because
hours,
yeah.
37 for complete, 8 hours for average.
30. Sorry, what?
I consider game time in terms of normal completion 100%,
Yeah,
and Celeste takes about 8 hours. And
8
that's
hours
considered a
average and
very,
37
very long
hours
game.
to do all the achievements or something.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. That seems like a short game to me. That's weird. Now I'm realizing you and I have different perspectives. This is really interesting because I've always grown up with this idea that I've heard from many people and that I took on at some point, which is oh, a game should give you $1, an hour per dollar that you spend. So a $20 game should give you 20 hours of entertainment, enjoyment, but actually good fun, not it's virtually time expanding or making you grind garbage, meaning actual fun time. Like Witcher, you have a lot of time riding the horse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, open world games will give you a lot of exploration and things like that. They can go for hundreds of hours easily.
But then there's Breath of the Wild exploration, and then
Right.
Assassin's Creed or Far Cry exploration,
Which is
there's
different.
2
Yeah.
very different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And if you consider it oh, I want to spend $1 per every hour,
Mm-hmm.
you end up in this. I will not describe. I find that you often end up, oh, I'm gonna spend an hour mining these blocks. or like just grinding, because that's how games generally pad runtime.
Right, exactly. I don't want padding, right? And from a game design perspective, we shouldn't be thinking in this dollar per hour thing. I'm just speaking from a player perspective. For me personally, that's what I've heard. Kind of like people talking about, oh, I really like games because, I go to a movie and I spend $20 and I get 2 hours of watching the movie in the theater, 2 hours of an experience. But a game at home, I can play for, like Witcher 3 is probably one of the highest value bang for buck games you can get if you enjoy that game, right? Same with Dying Light
Um,
2 that I've been playing a lot. Same
yeah,
thing.
Dying Light 2 actually got into a bit of controversy because of that, because
Uh-huh.
people generally don't buy games because they're going to be a very long game or they're going to provide hours of content, right?
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of their marketing people said this game's going to take you 500 to beat the main quest, and people were like, "That's pretty." Was it?
Wait,
Yeah,
5 hours to beat the main quest?
500.
500 hours to beat the main quest. Interesting. Okay, I've been playing this with Jonathan. Oh, by the way, for listeners, Jonathan is one of the subs on the league team. He's a member of our organization as well. Ben actually watched me play Dying Light with him a little bit. Dying Light 2, sorry.
Yeah,
So 500 hours to beat the main quest. We've been playing for like days, and there's so much content. But I like it because the content is fun, right? I don't feel like I'm wasting my time or being padded or whatever it is. It's enjoyable while I'm playing.
but the fact that one of their marketing people went out and said, "Oh, it's going to take you 500 to just beat this game," and like how long is like people? I do think we're experiencing a point where people are starting to get burnt out of games, where it's like
Sure.
they're because a lot of companies are basically marketing live services a second job, which is something.
Right. I mean, did you watch the Nick Popovich talk on Slime Rancher? He's the one who made Slime Rancher. He came from MMOs to single player games, and he was developing Slime Rancher as he pointed out this games as a service model. Nick Popovich.
I think I've watched one video on it, but I think it was the marketing one.
Yeah.
I don't remember talk about genre.
Popovich. Let me see, because this I remember he had a deck if I can find it. Link to deliverables. I'm just trying to find it. Popovich. Did I link it? No. GDC. Slime Rancher. GDC talks, maybe. Man. So bad at finding stuff. Oh, template. We had a budget. Yeah. What's up?
Actually, searching through GDC is a nightmare.
It's not just that, it's my Google Drive because I was saving the slide deck. So this is Mike Rose for how well a PC game's selling on Steam in 2019. Maybe if I go over to this and I try to find the folder, that would be a better method. Let's see. But yeah, what I'm looking for is Nick Popovich's slides, which actually, one second, it might be easier to find in our Discord because a colleague recently linked his talk in the marketing channel, I think. Making games that stand out and survive, Nick Popovich.
Oh yeah, this one. This is the marketing talk I was talking about.
Yeah. Oh wait, but the Dying Light 2 dev was something else, right?
Yeah.
A marketer? Dying Light. Okay. But yeah, I want his slide deck here. Where is it? Oh, okay. I have to do the old thing I used to do. GDC Talk slide decks 2019 or something. Like they have a website where they talk.
Yeah, it's all compiled well, but it's a bit hard to find.
Yeah. These are talks and slides from our presentation at GDC 19. Oh, nice. They made a Steam Games page. I didn't know they did this. This is new. How do I search through it though? If I were to search Nick Popovich, maybe it would come up. But yeah, what was interesting to me was he was applying MMO design principles and games as a service, what he called GAS, like software as a service, SAS or SaaS. He was doing GAAS. And he said like, it worked for Slime Rancher, and I can see he's doing it with Slime Rancher 2 as well. I bought that game and I was playing it. He's constantly adding free content and value so that every new person who buys the game gets more value than if they, bought it a month ago. But also every existing player who has bought the game gets a lot more value. And that's what No Man's Sky is doing as well, right? They're just adding so much free value over the last like 6 years, 7 years. It's insane to me how much they're doing. Right?
And that's where we're seeing a lot of games releasing post-mortis content because you can't you will gain back whatever
you're spending.
You do it right.
Exactly. And that's because you have an existing market, you have an existing game, and it seems counterintuitive to many people. Like I've been proposing this to Josh for a long time when I saw that talk, when I saw other things, when I saw No Man's Sky. And when I see how our game is designed for that, like we can add DLC so easily, and we should make it free DLC rather than paid because Like paid DLC really irks people. What's your thoughts on paid versus free DLC?
Depends on what you're paying for.
Depends on what you're paying
There's
for.
good
Yeah,
and there's bad.
there's good
I
and bad.
like
Yeah,
it's if you're gonna say all free, if all of it's good and all of it's bad, like, and I don't even think it's like depending on the content itself. It's so hard to just generically say.
fair enough. Fair enough. Understandable. So we need more context. Okay. Um, for example, okay, one thing I remember we were brainstorming was like, okay, Valentine's Day. Because initially this game we wanted it to be co-op because so okay, let me tell you about the shoot 'em up thing that I wanted to describe that would help you understand the gameplay a bit better. We want to reinvigorate the retro genres by adding the element of the mouse. And we're piggybacking off of the fact that people already use the keyboard and their mouse in their daily day-to-day life. So people who use email, who just work, they'll know how to use a mouse. Anyone who's played Mario or any basic platformer can learn WASD plus spacebar jumping, right? So they can learn basic platforming. And learning is a really important thing from a game design perspective, right? Both because like
Yeah.
because learning is how people have fun in a game. They need to keep learning. If someone is not improving at a game, not learning things, they will get bored and quit. Because you know, one thing Josh likes to say is what fun is the exploration of uncertainty, as well, something like that. So anyway, in the shoot 'em up, for example, the mouse is a shield, and it has an energy bar, so you can move the mouse around. And the you have your character that you're controlling with your WASD as the spaceship in the middle, the shooter, the bullet hell spaceship, and the mouse is a kind of ally that you're also controlling. So because you're controlling two characters in every one of these genres, and the way we're going to design it ideally is so that it's relatively easy to learn and get into, but there is enough of a skill ceiling that it is fulfilling to continue to master it, right? So and it won't be like the retro games that they played. It's not just a Contra clone or a Toho clone for bullet hell or a beat 'em up street, I don't actually know any beat 'em up games. Do you know any?
Street like
Not Street
Teenage
Fighter, right?
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, okay, yeah, Ninja Turtles, I remember that one. Fair enough. Yeah, so something like that, right? But so we then there, I think the mouse is like a pet. It's like a dog that runs around and tries to pick up stuff, and you can control it a little bit. So we'll automate some of the the mouse or some of the keyboard character sometimes. So the mouse and the cube is what I call them. The cube is the keyboard character. The mouse is the mouse character.
You can't. Well,
Yep.
the two things that come to mind when you say, "Oh, we're going to automate the mouse," is like
No, some
you're
of
taking,
it. Yeah.
Are you going to be taking control of the mouse? Because you can manually set the mouse's position on screen. Like,
Right.
I've
Yes.
messed
So
around with that a bit.
you will be controlling. So what we want to do is, I think, and now I'm speaking off the cuff. I should ask Josh, like, because I don't want to speak for him. But I think we want to give the player the option for agency, but also the option to let it do its own thing when they're too overwhelmed. Right. It's like the Danish co-housing concept, where they realized that modern housing and apartments were keeping people too private, and there was no option for community. It was isolating and lonely. So they built communities that had both the option for privacy and the option for community socialization, so that you get to choose when you do what. If you just want to stay as a shut-in all day, you can do that in a co-housing community. You don't have to interact. But when you're leaving the house, you're walking around, things are designed in such a way that fortuitous interactions that are unexpected will happen. So if you like those, then you should buy a house there, kind of thing. And I would like that, right? So long term, I do. Yep.
That brings me to my second problem. That's going to be impossible to make challenging but fair when you can block. Because the problem with the mouse and keyboard is it doesn't have it doesn't really have velocity because you can just up the DPI.
Right. Unless we add momentum or physics or something, but then it feels clunky, right? So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
At that point, it's on a mouse and keyboard. And then having automated systems on top of something that a player can control, that I'm guessing when you start idling, it feels like a very complicated system to design with very little reward for the player.
Okay, complicated system.
I don't see this, like I'm getting it described to me secondhand, so I'm not.
And I realize now that I've also made up a lot of details. Like Josh would probably describe it very differently. So
yes, and that's why I'm not being too critical of it, because I cannot see it.
Yeah, and you don't know that it's really what we're doing. So I'll connect you with Josh at some point if he's open. He'll listen to this entire podcast, I'm pretty sure, and he'll make some notes.
Yeah, it's very hard. Like I kind of don't want to even say too much about your individual game, because I'm basically just making guesses.
Right. Yeah. So let's move away from the game and go to higher level stuff. Yes. I'll try to find the slide where he talked about coziness. So our game is cozy. It does have home. Like he talks about Spider-Man swinging around. Home is where you can make progression without being too stressed out. And there's a base building aspect to it as well. But yeah, you're right. Let's stay away from the individual game and try to get into the. So, what are the key questions you think we should be able to answer without knowing the details of our game specifically that would help us with overall marketing? Because we can get into specific marketing that our game can do that other games can't do later, right? Like that's the second step. The first step is what's the marketing that any game can do that we should be
I
doing?
mean, it sounds like you have some very solid anchors in terms of what your base systems are. It's going to be how the integration of those systems and what is the hook, what is grabbing your audience from, because like,
Yeah. So what is our hook? And Ryan Clark has talked about this, right? He's based in Vancouver as well. He did his Clark Tank. You've probably watched Clark Tank episodes, right? Clark
no, I
Tank,
don't think
Ryan Clark. No, okay. So Brace Yourself Games, what did they do? They did Necrodancer. I think they've done 3 or 4 games that have done over 1 million in sales. This guy, Brace, yeah. I'll link this in the thread. But yeah, he had some really insightful stuff. Unfortunately,
Twitch.
Huh? What?
He's doing this on Twitch.
And then yeah, I watched him live on Twitch. He also posted YouTube videos, but he stopped his last Clark Tank episode was like a few years ago. I remember watching it live, because he just got busy with other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd also started a business with his wife where they're innovating in education in Vancouver for kids, elementary school age kids, because he wants his kids to have a good school, and he knows how broken the school system is, right? That's a whole other thing.
Let's not get into this.
Yeah, let's not get into that. But I think they've done 3 games or more that have all made over $1 million in gross sales. So he's had multiple hits successfully, continually. And that's rare, right? Like for an indie game developer, now they're not indie, they're actually starting their own publishing house as well, right? They're now publishing Godless. But I think Phantom Brigade, Industries of Titan, Crypt of the Necrodancer, they also got on Nintendo Switch and did a version which was Zelda
Themed, yeah.
copy, yeah, Zelda themed, but it was actually a full game. It wasn't just like a clone. They added new mechanics and things.
Mhm.
And I think I've played almost all of their games. I've tried Phantom Brigade, I've tried Industries of Titan. So I definitely think what they're doing is really interesting. I want to understand how they're having multi-successful games over years in multiple genres, because all of that is rare. They're outliers for sure. And one of the videos that Ryan Clark made was about hooks, right? So Ryan Clark, hooks. Let's see if I can find it. Clark Tank Deep Dive, How to Make Video Game Hooks, Part 1, right? So, oh, well, let me put that in the thread. So yeah, I definitely want to find a way to talk to him at some point, because I'm sure he would have a lot of interesting things to explain. But also, I can probably learn a lot from just his videos, right? I don't need to waste his time one-on-one immediately when I can learn a lot from asynchronous content.
It's the amazing thing about the internet, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting seeing that we're both basically drawing from the internet in terms of where our learning is coming from, because
Exactly.
it's free and it's there.
Yeah, and it's
But-
better than a college education, in my opinion, right? You have access to world-class people in every field making stuff for free. But the problem is your professor who's teaching you business may not be able to run a business in today's world, realistically, right? But if he can, then he's good. Then it's good. But not everyone can.
I think they're both very like. I don't think one is better than the other.
They're fulfilling different roles, you think?
Their goals are different, right?
Okay. Tell me more.
Like it comes back to the original discussion I think we had before the podcast, because
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of scuff, but
Mm-hmm.
college education is designed to get you the basic fundamentals.
To teach you how to learn, basically.
Yeah, it teaches you the fundamentals and teaches you how to keep learning the.
But see,
like,
here's the thing. Like, I think children are amazing at learning. They learn how to walk. They learn how to talk. But then we teach them shame. We teach them guilt. We teach them to be afraid of making mistakes, to feel bad about things like. I think children are actually amazing learners, and then we break their ability to learn, and they have to relearn their ability to learn over time. And as adults, they have to go back and fix themselves if we broke them too much, you know. Like you're 21. I don't know how much college you've attended. I didn't attend college, for example. But I actually found that high school crushed my curiosity. It made it harder for me to learn. And it took me years after high school to really rebuild my curiosity, respark and ignite that fire that is, I think, in all children naturally. Like we're born with curiosity. We are born exploring the world, touching things. Like games actually incentivize that because you're exploring the laws of physics in the game, you know? You're testing things. Yeah.
I can agree on some level. I do think it depends on the actual individual experience, because there's good teachers and there's bad teachers within any given system. I don't think that's unique to anything in the world.
So what's your educational experience so far? Like high school plus?
High school, and then I went VFS, which kind of collegey kind of thing. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's
I've
not
been to
university.
VFS, so just for context, VFS is Vancouver Film School. They have a game development program and some courses. Josh was actually teaching at VFS as a consultant, and he brought
Mhm.
me in because I was interested at that time in mediation, arbitration, people stuff, people skills,
Mhm.
organization culture, psychology. So I went in and I helped arbitrate some teams that were building games and helped arbitrate some conflicts. I had like a 3 hour conversation with one team, and it felt really good because they came to me later and they said, we we really liked having you there. Thank you for forcing us to, talk about the issues and bring them up and help resolve them. But I also later realized I made a lot of mistakes, like a lot of realizations crystallized that I had no idea what I was doing, right? Like a
There's-
professional trained psychologist would have been much better. Yeah.
yes,
But I was
but it
better
is
than
what it
nothing.
is.
I was
Yeah.
better than nothing. And their
Uh,
alternative was nothing. So I'm still
should be
glad
this
that I tried it. Yeah.
a lot of
Mhm.
we make things that are we sell things that are perfect. We make things that are human.
Wait, hold on. I got to write that down. We sell things that are perfect, but we make things that are human.
Yes, I'm stealing that quote from an Apple TV show. So
Apple TV show. Okay.
I can't
It
remember. It's
doesn't
like the
matter.
one about
You don't need to
space.
credit the quote. That's okay. It's just an interesting idea for me to write down to think about because I've never heard that before. And I guess, yeah, the reason I like having these conversations and hosting this podcast is like, I tend to just get new ideas from people and learn so many things. And I think that's why I love talking with people. Like, I love it more than reading books. It's interactive. I love it more than reading books. I love it more than playing video games, whatever, right? Like, video games are interactive, but they're not as interesting as human conversation to me. Maybe because human conversation cannot be designed, right? In the future, I'm sure we'll have interactive media that
Here's the
are
thing,
like
though. You
human
did design
conversation.
this conversation with the questions and the topics in mind.
Yeah, but
Like,
I'm barely following the design, right? Instead,
it's
it's
you
based on
can't design the
intuition.
outcome, but you can design the structure.
The structure, yeah, but I'm terrible at following structure. Like, I'm I'm way
Mm,
better at like, and I think
yeah.
that's the skill I'm leaning into is I intuitively read the other person, I read myself, I'm genuine, I'm vulnerable, and then what ends up happening after the fact, like if we look back at this conversation, it's like I could not have designed it better through structure or consciousness. The way it turns out just by following my intuition and the flow of what's happening will feel way better in the long run. And we can't do that with games, right? Yet. Because imagine if you could hook up your brain to a system that is designing a game in real time as you're thinking and as
Mm.
you're feeling, right? That
Well,
would, yeah.
oh, you get into that sort of brain tech and everything starts to get scary.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that Neuralink is killing monkeys and all that. But I'm talking about like
No, it's
200
not
years
even
from,
about that. Like,
oh,
if even if
yeah.
that technology was perfect, it's still really, really scary.
Why is it scary? Oh, because people
Well,
can put advertisements in your brain or what?
yeah, you can control a certain amount of the human experience.
Right. Not just that, you could potentially mind control people, right? Like you can start putting chemicals in. Like we know what SSRIs and antidepressants do, right? They
Mhm.
serotonin. What is it? Selective
Once we have a better
serotonin
control of the
reuptaking.
brain,
Yeah.
yeah, like. Hmm. I
Basically.
recently was
Mhm.
taking some melatonin to fix my sleep schedule, and it made me realize
Yeah.
how much like drugs and hormones could just like completely mess you up.
Yeah. Look at this. I do have melatonin here.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
take it long term. Great
Don't take it.
for to
Well,
fix your sleep schedule though.
it depends. I'm taking it in very small doses, 1.25 milligrams. Because here's the thing. There's an interesting argument from Gwern, melatonin. He's an interesting kind of researcher. I really like the way his mind works and how he writes because he does a lot of self-experimentation, like really detailed scientific tests on himself, basically,
Mhm.
right? Where he will like track, okay, what was my sleep quality? He'll use apps. He'll use like actual scientific method, and he'll actually refer to meta-analyses and other things. So what he made an argument for, which I found compelling as an argument, was we're already artificially lowering our melatonin production through human civilization. We have bright lights, we have blue lights, screens, all sorts of things. So taking a melatonin of certain dosage every night forever could actually just make your life better because all you're doing is making up for that, right? You're helping your sleep be better, which helps your thinking be better, which helps your mood be better, all these other things, right? Now, the downside, my concern is that the human body is so complex, we don't understand it.
Mhm.
When you start adding in chemicals externally, the human body doesn't process them in the same way that it does when it creates the chemicals itself. For example, my body might start producing less melatonin naturally, and then I become dependent on it. And I've interviewed some
Yeah,
people who've mentioned that their
that would be my
tolerance.
concern when you
Yeah.
discuss things like that. Is how like
Mhm.
how you regulating artificially adding stuff because
Exactly. We don't know the effects it has on the body. We don't know how it changes the balance of the body's complex biomechanical systems, right?
And the one thing when you say, "Oh, this dude's doing scientific," he's doing it on himself.
He's doing it on himself, and that's the thing. He's not
And
me. His body's not mine, right?
well, also is he p hacking that? Like, how is he?
No, he's not
evaluating his
p-hacking.
own-
He's not cherry picking. As far as I could tell, he is genuinely trying to find the truth. Meaning, if he's the kind of person who would publish null results, right? Many scientists are not those kinds of people because it's expensive to
When I
publish.
say p hacking is how is he adjusting for bias?
How is he adjusting for bias? Okay, I don't know.
And how do you even figure out what his own bias is?
Exactly. That you're right. That's a complex problem. That's like a thing we're trying to solve as scientists for generations.
Because I'm guessing, it's like it's very hard to take an individual study like that, and I do think.
No, but that's why he also adds in meta studies and other research and things, right? Like it's just one slice of the research he's doing. Anyway, did I link this? I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay,
Yes.
so people can look at that. You can look at that. And we'll go back to our... I'm getting better at this. Like for me, I used to go on tangents for like 30 plus minutes. Now I'm actually coming back to the notes. So what is our hook? Okay. Have we gone through all of this, by the way? Marketing goals, marketing resources, marketing campaign lengths and phases.
Stuff up top. Like it's pretty hard to go in depth on certain things because certain things like we would need to reference a game.
Yeah. By the way, if
like-
you press Control-Alt-M, you can type in comments. I like that because it comes up on the side as well. So that's just something I use sometimes. So if you ever want to make quick notes.
I avoid comments because I find it just makes it look messy and unorganized.
Control-Alt-M to add comments. Well, it becomes kind of like when people take notes in the sides of the books, right? On the pages, like physical notes.
I don't like doing
You don't like to do that? I mean, I don't do that either because it ruins the book. But I guess I like comments because I guess when I'm in meetings with Josh, he talks a lot. And then I want to note down things and not forget that I want to mention them in the next time I get a chance to speak. Because he'll stop speaking and I'll have like 7 things to say that are all disconnected. And that's just how my mind works, right? Like, or they're disconnected for him, but connected for me. Because they all address the things that he mentioned. So yeah.
It's I'm just going through certain things. Like if we just run through like hard versus soft goods, we're operating completely on soft goods, and so are you. Like I don't think
so. Software, meaning scalability is easy.
Yeah, scalability is better, and until you have some success with soft goods, like a success with Kickstarter or something, there is no need, or like I think it's undesirable to have hard goods before that.
Okay, so basically, don't aim to have physical products or collector's edition or printed CDs or whatever, right?
Until you have some success, right?
Yeah, some success with software undesirable to create hard goods until you have some success. Okay.
Because
why is that the case?
I think it's just it costs quite a bit of money to develop the hard goods and then ship it out and manage it.
Right. And then there's a guarantee. So there's more risk. Yeah.
Until you have some guarantee, like if you do a Kickstarter, you could afford to do the development of those hard goods with the money that you've already, like the money's already guaranteed. You just have to deliver at that point.
Right. So money is guaranteed, just have to develop. So this is what Amazon did, right? Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, he was only with books, but he never ordered a book. He was kind of a middleman. He only ordered a book from a book depository or supplier when he got an online order, meaning it was roughly guaranteed. Yeah, they could cancel, they could refund. There was some leakage rate, or what is it called? Spillage? The term for when a business is expected to lose some amount. Like, for example, on Steam sales, we're expecting a 10% refund rate, right? So we're budgeting 10% of our revenue to just go back to refunds, for example, which is why I multiply our total revenue by 0.38, roughly, 38%, to talk about what we get after Steam's 30% cut, VAT, regional pricing, and other differences, and refunds, various things that will just, X total revenue. So Kickstarter money is guaranteed. Yeah.
Obviously reflects on marketing, because are you doing a Kickstarter, right?
No, we're not. So I think Josh had a bad experience with Kickstarter on his past game, Oscar. Long story short, I think this is not my story to share, right? I want to protect his privacy. But long story short, he was developing a game. He had a team. It was going well. They did well on Kickstarter, roughly. But he got into an accident, and his life was thrown into array. They couldn't continue the project. And then he went and he figured out a way to repay every single person who backed the Kickstarter, even though they had spent some of that money on the project already, right? So I think he personally paid it or something. He figured out some way to pay them back. And I think that was just such an emotionally difficult experience that he does not want to be beholden to crowdfunding anymore, because I can see how it takes a lot of mental energy to keep the community happy, to stay accountable to, like, if we don't want deadlines, then we should not have a Kickstarter, basically, right? So let's not.
Kickstarter is yeah, that's why I describe Kickstarter is a marketing technique. It's not a funding technique.
Oh, interesting. Okay, tell me more.
When you
Kickstarters.
do a
Yeah.
when you do a Kickstarter, you're building hype. You're generally, even with your goals, even if you like blow past them, what you're really doing is committing yourself to a fan base and committing yourself to like you're selling an idea, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's called Kickstarter. You're kickstarting a car or a motorbike.
Right. We're kickstarting the motor. Yeah. And Indiegogo, which is kind of like, okay, we're indie and we want to go, so they're gonna help us go, you know?
And
Okay.
it's why it's such a huge risk because you
Right.
can end up with a lot of pissed people if you don't deliver.
Right. So this is interesting because it's high risk, high reward. We either build a
Yes.
lot of trust or we lose a lot of trust.
Yes.
High risk, high reward, which is kind of true for all entrepreneurship as well, right? You either have a big chance to succeed or like nothing happens, you just fail, or you could even go bankrupt if you put in too much, you know.
And that's why, like, when this question is like, how does hard goods versus soft goods fundamentally reflect in video games?
Yeah.
It's part of whatever strategy you develop, right? Because if you're going on Kickstarter, that is probably going to be a core tenet of how you do. If you're trying to go for a publisher, it's core tenet. If you're doing what I call the free dev, where everyone's sort of working for free, with on the under the assumption of free like ownership of company, that's an entirely valid concept on itself.
Interesting. There's so much that I didn't think about.
Marketing is related to business model, is relating to actual game, is created to creative decision, is related to actual strategy. Fuck Sprint.
This is awesome.
Or Agile.
Wait, like Agile, isn't Agile a project management paradigm? Yeah. And it's
all related, right? You can't.
It's all connected. Yeah. And this is the thing that I'm realizing is like the world is so interconnected. It's beautiful. You can learn about anything and it's connected to everything else in some way, indirectly by 3 nodes, 5 nodes, whatever. But it's all a web with nodes. And
it's
you
beautiful
can start
because nothing is forever, but it's also ugly in that it's very self-perpetuating.
What do you mean?
When things are done without reason, you can end up in situations where things are done because that's how it's been done always, right?
Yeah, I hate that. So the momentum.
That is. Yeah. Momentum builds momentum, which
momentum, tradition, stability. So the example that I always think of is freaking Jonathan Stark. He's got a book, and he's written a whole bunch of free blog posts on like hourly billing is nuts, right? And basically he explains how hourly billing is bad for the client and the consultant. Right? It doesn't make sense for either of them, and yet it's a tradition. It's just been done because it's done, and people don't even question it. They barely question like, oh, I'll charge him $50 an hour. It's like, wait. So he brings up a whole bunch of, I'll link it, hourly billing prevents growth. He's got a whole series of, free blogs. I really like the way he does his marketing, by the way. He started out as a software engineer, and then he ended up realizing that the way he was billing as a software consultant didn't make sense. And then he got really interested in this idea. He thought about it. He started making content. And now he's more of a consultant's consultant, right? He helps consultants run their businesses better. He helps entrepreneurs and things like that. Because he's learned a lot about... And these are things people don't question, right? But once you start questioning them, you start realizing, holy shit, my business could be so much better if I didn't bill hourly. I want to show you some panels from his comic. But any thoughts you have so far?
I mean, nothing is always true. So like when you say hourly billing can stifle growth, I also would argue if the other way is true. It depends on like obviously bigger picture always matters.
Dude, I haven't seen this comic before. I think it's his newest one or something. How do I stop saying all the time? Start a podcast and edit it yourself.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh my god.
My personal tip, change it to
Change it to Okay.
I
mean, Adam Grant also had this thing. Adam Grant also had this thing about like how and us, like filler words are good because they basically...
Sure you're thinking.
Yeah, they indicate to the other
conversation
person...
that's been villainized for no reason.
Yeah, they're not necessarily bad. However, replacing them with silence can be nice. It can be good, especially in public speaking or prepared speeches. In casual conversation like this, I'm not going to focus too much on it. I did write a list of words I want to use less, and I have been using them less just by having them on a flashcard in front of me. Things like basically... Yeah, they tend to lower the quality of what I'm saying and how the ideas come across. But some of these things, like sometimes I'll just say or you know, and it's okay. I don't need to completely eliminate them. So yeah, here he writes, evidence. Filler words signal that new information is coming, making it easier for listeners to understand and remember what comes next. Hesitations don't make you sound weak. They help you communicate clearly. He said it's a mistake to stop saying and altogether. And I know that, deliberately practicing with a speech coach for just like 20 or 30 minutes could completely change my speech habits in such a short period of time because they'll give me rapid feedback and all of that. So I might do that at some point just to improve. It's a worthy investment. But yeah, let's go back here. By the way, feel free to interrupt me at any point. You know that once I start talking, it's hard for me to stop. And if you have a thought, I want you to interject and share the thought because I want the podcast to be about your mind and your brain and your experience. And I'm just here to enable that. And I guess this episode, I'm definitely talking a lot more than previous.
Yeah,
ones.
it's like some of these topics I don't really want to get into because
yeah. They're off.
That's
topic.
an entire digital age marketing. What has changed? Right. Yeah.
What is
things?
changed?
Everything.
Right.
Some things, not everything,
But I'm glad that you're as interested in marketing or more interested in marketing than I am, because that's rare. I rarely meet people like that.
It's necessary.
It's necessary for life.
It's not, I wouldn't call it a necessary evil because I don't think it's evil. It's just it's very easy to unintentionally mislead or intentionally mislead.
Right.
It's like statistics in a lot of ways.
Wait, it's very easy to unintentionally mislead or what? Or lead? Or
it's very easy to unintentionally or intentionally with a lot of common marketing too. When you do marketing, because it's very similar to design. If you're not designing something, you're still like absence of the thing is in itself a thing. Not marketing is marketing.
Right, makes sense. Is marketing, but it's basically unchosen. It's unconscious, unchosen, but it's there.
And it's obviously better to intentionally do something.
It's better to intentionally because you have more control. Even if it's bad, like I think it's actually better to intentionally or have control and then make a mistake than to make the mistake but have or to do it pretty well intuitively but with no structure to improve it, because then you can't make progress, right? So it's good to make it
successful, you cannot repeat.
Right, exactly. You can't replicate success reliably. So replicating success reliably is important. And that's why so many indie devs can get one hit, but not two.
One hit wonders.
Yeah, one hit wonders. But Ryan Clark is not like that. And that's why I'm curious about him. And there are other people. And Jake Birkett is interesting because he survived 11 years without a hit. So he just makes games that do okay. They do well enough that he does okay. And he did a bunch of analytics in his talk. You saw his graphs of like, how many hours how many dollars he made per hour. He tracked his hours on each project. Some projects he made $120 an hour. Some projects he made like $5 an hour. So he learned over time what was good and what was bad. It was worth hiring an artist versus not. He did so much trial and error. And I love that he took a scientific approach to it, basically. Trial and error and record your results and figure out what works and what doesn't.
You write something down, it's science.
Is that true? If you write?
I think that's a Mythbuster quote.
It's science. Okay, Mythbuster. I haven't watched Mythbusters, but maybe I should. Okay, interesting. Being interested in marketing is necessary. And I do think that, marketing is a skill that is pervasive. It is in life. You're always selling in your relationships and whatever.
Industry. There is no industry that doesn't rely on it.
Right. There's
a difference between advertising and marketing.
Okay. What's the difference?
Advertising is like direct selling of or buying of marketing. At least that's how I understand it. I'm gonna Google that.
Well, no, there's multiple ways to look. So the words you use don't like. What's interesting to me is like you can define words how you choose, and then I can always apply that same definition to a different word once I understand the definition, right? Because I'm more interested in the concepts than the words or the definitions that you're using. I'm more interested in what is the idea you're trying to help me understand. So in this case, you're making a distinction between buying and selling marketing, and advertising is the buying and selling of that marketing. I do view advertising as a kind of subset of marketing.
Yes, they're very closely related, and you can often see people confuse them.
But what you're saying is not necessarily that it's a subset, but that the trade of advertising is what marketing is, or one of the things that
marketing is direct promotion of your marketing.
Or advertising
is promotion is a direct.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah,
advertising is the direct promotion of your marketing. So in a way, marketing is physics, and engineering, which is applied physics, is advertising. So advertising is applied marketing. Or it's one form of applied marketing. It is not all applied marketing.
Quote from the American Marketing Association, because of course there is. In basic terms, marketing is the process of identifying customers and how to best meet them. Contrast, advertising is exercising of promoting a company and its services.
Okay, promoting a company and its services. So, and this is where the whole
Quoting that directly from the American Marketing Association.
Can you link that
on
Can
landingpages.org.
you link it in the thread?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then, are you familiar with the 5 Ps of marketing? Because that kind of confused me. So product, price, people, promotion, place. So some of these are intuitive, some of these are not for me.
Yeah, I remember reading about it somewhere.
Yeah.
There's so much reading though. Endless.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how this applies to indie games or just video games in general or any media. Because you're right, we're in software, right? We are in a soft good. So place, you want to be located on a highly coveted corridor. Now place could be replaced by our Discord community, our Steam page. Basically, what are the places where people will congregate? Forums, right? The places that our game will pull people towards. If, for example, we had a hub, like we were PlayStation Home or whatever, right? Where people had 3D avatars and they were meeting in a place, that's a virtual place. That is a hub. Now, we don't have that in our single player game.
Yeah. Well, it's basically that's one thing where it's very simplified for games because Steam, itch, or Unreal, or Epic.
And Discord, because it's about community. It's not about platform you're selling the game on. It's about where are people communicating, right? And it could be Steam reviews. Like Steam reviews do become a way. Like you see people writing memes in Steam reviews, right? And there are entire. It's an ecosystem.
that has been one of the funnest things lately to do is just read.
Yeah, I love Steam reviews. They're amazing because one person will write a really funny review, then it will inspire other people to write really funny reviews, and then you've got the whole review thing becoming its own meta game. So the review section of Steam. So okay, let me just write this down. Product, price, position, promotion. Wait, that seems new. Like that doesn't seem common with the other 5P diagrams that I was seeing.
And that is where I would say that, like, when you go into a course, you have the expectation that there will be very directed, but when you're doing online research, you have to go through a lot of things that probably may not be true. You can't take all information. Absolutely.
Right. Product, price, promotion, place, and people. Let's go with that one. And yeah, but what I like about internet, and I can see how many people don't like internet learning because it is self-directed. But I like it because it means I don't have someone controlling my direction, right? I get full freedom. If my mind wants to go somewhere, it can go. I can explore all the tangents I want. And I found that I still learn a ton. Like I still learn a lot, but it takes me maybe months or years to realize the impact or gains. Like I find that books I read a few years ago are now becoming part of my intuition. But that wasn't a conscious process, right? They just took time to settle in. It's kind of like this idea that, identity lags a few years behind reality. So there you'll see people who've lost like 100 pounds and then they're still walking around like they have 100 pounds on them and they still feel like they're overweight, but they're not. It takes time to adjust to reality. It's an idea from, what's his face? Mark, the guy who wrote I Don't Give a Fuck What You Think or something, the Orange Book that he wrote. He was like, he does a lot of interesting philosophy where he swears a lot too on his blog. I think it built his marketing was built around some of that. Self-help author Mark Manson. There we go. Wasn't there a serial killer or someone named Manson?
I don't know. Probably. A lot of people name a lot of things that have killed a lot.
But here, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
That one. You're probably familiar with that once you see that cover, right?
I didn't read the full thing. I read the first chapter.
One distinction Seth Godin makes is between brand and brand marketing and direct marketing. So direct marketing you can measure. So that is things like, Facebook ads, analytics. You're doing direct advertising kind of that you can measure the results. Meaning, you can buy a Super Bowl ad, for example, and you can see how many people go buy Doritos, right? Because of that Super Bowl ad for Doritos or whatever it is. But brand marketing is like you have these TV ads and they're playing all the time. And let's say your 75-year-old grandfather is watching these TV ads. And then at age 78, he wants to replace his radio. And he goes and he buys a Fisher radio. And he's like, because it's a Fisher. And that brand jingle is stuck in his head. And so the brand marketing converted into a sale, but you can't predict when it will convert and you can't really measure it. It slowly gets your brand out there. Yeah. And that's what happened with this book.
Always being there. Yeah.
Yeah, it just becomes part of the culture.
We're starting to see that within, well, I guess we've seen it for a long time within video games because it's like multiplayer versus single. Huge distinction in how games are developed.
Yeah.
And
multiplayer versus single player. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And this is where it's becoming interesting to me with, again, the Nick Popovich thing, his Slime Rancher games as a service. It's kind of like he's treating a single player game like a live service game, and it's working. And so there's so much innovation space that is unexplored, and
Hmm.
always will be, right? That's just reality. There's always stuff to innovate. And I think that's, again, something beautiful about life and inspiring about it. People. Okay. So we'll talk about. Oh, wait. So place is a sixth P, unless it's position. But
It,
positioning is different. So
I think they're all referring to generally like the same thing with different words based on how people are describing it. We see
I mean,
that a lot with
I'm just gonna turn them into six Ps because I think position should be positioning, not like place. If like if
position and place. It's the same idea.
so, do you know about positioning, the marketing concept?
Based reading like position play like sorry because this has been long and I'm reading
No
directly
worries.
from the. It's basically how people find you, right?
Yeah.
Where are they finding you?
Or
It's
not
like
just
where
no.
and
That's discoverability. That's discoverability. So hold on, that's something else. But it is closely
well
interconnected.
in
Yeah.
reference to the 5 Ps, right?
No, I just mean in general positioning. So, okay, if you're talking about place, then yes, it's where people find you. Like, or where, I guess, well, in that model, they were talking about having a street corner that is high
Hmm.
visibility or high traffic, which is different. By what I mean by positioning is the general marketing concept, which I'll share this. You won't have audio unless I share the, and yeah, the
Just in timestamp.
just send timestamp, sure. But actually, I should play it with here. I'll just switch the screen share, change windows. How do I actually change windows? One sec. Okay, got it. Yeah, stage is a little weird, but it's should work. Applications to the browser. Here we go. I'll have to find the timestamp real quick. I've read this is how my memory works, where I haven't watched a video in like years or something, but I'll use the transcript on YouTube to go positioning as a
Mhm.
service. So, by the way, I highly recommend his book if you're interested in marketing. He wrote a book in 2018 called This is Marketing. But this talk is basically like he summarizes the entire book. So you can just watch the talk if you don't want to read the book. And then
Pretty
read
good
the book
marketing on
from
that title.
which one? Inside Set
This is
97.
marketing.
Oh,
That's a
the
good
book. Yeah, it
marketable
is. Yeah,
title.
yeah, yeah. Here, let me get his book. This is marketing, and he does really just summarize marketing from his perspective. You can't be
Hmm.
seen until you learn to see. I like that subtitle too. You can't be seen until you learn to see.
Of course, I mean, if you're buying a bad marketing book, a book that isn't marketable on marketing.
Exactly. That's like having a business, a professor who can't do business, or a physics teacher who cannot do physics, or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, those who
it
can't
doesn't work.
do what it's those who do lead, those who can't teach.
Those who do lead, those who can't teach. That's a new one for
I
me
think
because
that's a quote.
I've heard
I
those who
don't know.
can't do teach, and those who can't teach gym. Which is weird because gym should be taught by people who like it's one of the most important things I think, teaching people how to exercise and build that habit early and why it's important for life and all these things like
Dude, I was
health and
being
fitness.
taught
Yeah,
electronic secure, like
yeah.
online safety etiquette in gym class
Really? Because he
in high
was he
school.
passionate about that? Your gym
No,
teacher or
that's
no?
because he had to, because that was part of the
Wait, what? How is
curriculum.
online
Yeah.
safety part of
Welcome to
gym?
PC. Welcome to
Oh,
PC.
I remember that
Anyway,
my our planning teacher was teaching us financial like savviness or whatever knowledge, but he was only teaching us stocks as the one type of investment. And I had to get up and tell him, well, hold on, there are four kinds. You've got commodities, businesses, real estate, and then stocks. But you can't just teach us only about stocks. Like what the hell, man?
no, we
Eh,
were learning about stocks in our World War history, or like
Wait,
20th
really?
century.
Oh my
Yeah,
god. Okay,
because of the Great
interesting.
Depression.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way, right? You can mix subjects. Like I
That was
don't.
the only education in my high school that I got.
Yeah.
Fuck learning about taxes. Those things are for accountants.
Ish. Not everyone can afford an accountant. I filed my own taxes. It's
Well,
yeah.
that's why we learned to not stick our hands in pizza machines, because we've all seen that one video.
I haven't seen that one video. Oh my god, I don't
Oh,
want to see it. I don't want to see it. It
it's a really
sounds.
bad like 80s horror film that we're being like all the YouTube. It's on YouTube, and all the YouTube comments are like sarcastic because we've all had to watch this one planet
Ah,
video.
okay.
Like it wasn't the 80s; it was like
So it's
2006,
not
and it's like
actually as gory as I imagine or something.
no,
It's not like a
it's
real
like
hand in a pizza thing. Okay.
it's like this person that stuck their hand in a pizza machine, and that was unsafe planning by the business owners. And it like my mate, there was also a lesson of don't get run over by your own forklift.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's all I remember from my planning 10 class. So
Okay, so your planning class went over that video for some reason. What were they trying to
everyone's planning
teach you?
class. It wasn't even.
No, what were they trying to teach you?
Yeah. I don't know. All I remember is don't get run over by your own forklifter and don't
Forklift.
stick your hand in a pizza roller.
So I guess they were trying to teach you about situational
Or
awareness, understanding your
no,
environment.
it was about how you have the right to have safety in the workplace.
Okay, so like work safe BC stuff. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it was work
Basically,
safe.
basically, if your business is not caring about your personal safety, meaning if you're being made to lift things heavier than you can handle, if you don't have safety glasses provided, all these things, then you need to speak up and you have a right. You're entitled to that, kind of.
Pizza and
Because that's actually an important thing to teach people, like that we all need to know what we're entitled to, when we should be allowed to say no, and when we're willing to say no. Because
yeah,
sometimes, I mean,
but
yeah, go ahead.
it's done in the most like obviously no disrespect to whoever this was.
Hmm.
It's but when the main takeaway is don't stick your hand in a pizza machine, it's like, hmm.
Right. Yeah, no, that's not good enough. It needs to be something else. Yeah, I agree. That's bad marketing, bad planning. Okay, let's watch this like maybe 1 minute clip. So the idea of positioning as a service. So he goes into explaining what is positioning, and then he also goes into um, why positioning is actually doing a service for the other person. Wait, one sec. It's muted on the tab. Unmute site. There we go.
Idea of positioning
Can you hear it?
as a service.
I was gonna have to click to it.
So I need to give you a little bit about.
You can hear it?
Yeah.
One is this idea of positioning as a service. So I need to give you a little bit of background here. Positioning started in the 50s, and then Trout and Reese wrote a good book about it. Positioning says people cannot possibly remember every attribute of what you make. So let's think about vodka. Without talking about whether all the vodka is made in exactly the same factory, if we talk about vodka, we could imagine that there are vodkas you could buy on the left and right axis that range from really cheap to really expensive. On the other axes, we could imagine vodkas you could buy that are totally neutral or really profound tasting and flavored. Within those grids, there's a vodka over in the left corner, there's a vodka up in the top right corner. You get the idea? You get to draw the grid because you get to make the product, because you get to tell the story. And the thing about this, and the shift that I'm proposing, is you don't get to draw the grid to be selfish. You don't get to draw the grid to say, we're up in the top right-hand corner and everyone else sucks. That's not the way it works. Every one of the elements has to be okay. Some people want something that's really scarce. Okay. Some people want something that's really easy to get. You're performing a service for the people you are serving. Right? You're saying, oh, if you want a more traditional thing, that's our competitor. So when someone comes to you and says, I need you to do this, you should eagerly send them to your competitor. Because that's what you're doing, is positioning you in a corner away from everybody else. And we'll talk about that in more detail if you want, because there's a lot of juice in that.
Someone doesn't explain to this man about legalized monopolies.
Legalized monopolies.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that sentence? I missed the first part of what the sentence.
Like, I think I said, well, what did I say? I can't remember.
Something about someone legalized monopolies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah. Someone hasn't told this man about legalized monopolies.
No, he probably knows. So he's been doing this for like 30 plus years. But what was your thought about legalized monopolies? Like, oh, that you won't have competition, basically. Yeah. Like, so Telus and Shaw.
Yes.
But then I had Lightspeed internet in my last place, and Lightspeed has been around since like 1995, and that's because Shaw and Telus are government mandated to let Lightspeed piggyback off of their infrastructure. So the funny thing is, when you call Lightspeed for service, they send a Shaw technician because they don't have their own technician service.
Dude, I love getting ads for fiber optics when they don't have fiber optics in my area.
Yeah, I hate that because like
I get ads about how bad my internet is, and it's like, you guys don't support it out here. Why the fuck are you advertising to me?
Are you? What about Starlink? Does that work for you? When it gets cheaper, it needs to get cheaper, right? I think I don't know what price it is.
It's not good. Like, I can still get better wired.
Yeah, you can still get better, but hopefully it'll improve in the next few years. We'll see.
It's
but
great
that kind of thing.
If there is no internet in your area. Like, I know people that use it.
If you have literally no wiring, basically.
No wiring and just electricity. Yep, it works.
Just electricity
for the people in the bush.
Yeah, because so all you need ideally is like electricity and water as well, right? if you don't have running water, I guess you just have like still toilets and like pools of water, and you have access to like a river or something that you use.
I
I'm
mean,
not sure how people live
are
up
you
there.
talking about like basic survival? Because I'm like, I don't think you need water for the Starlink.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking, but if you're living there for like 5 years, like what you'd want some
You
quality
need
of life access. Maybe a
yeah, it depends
well.
on.
Yeah.
You can do well. I mean, you're gonna need food. So you're gonna need to, like. It depends on what you're living. Like
Yeah,
you
will
may,
you like drive to a grocery store really far away with a pickup truck or something and load up every month on groceries, or will you like hunt and grow, garden? Like yeah, you're right. We don't have to get into that. But so basically, what I went over
join
with
us next
position.
time when we discuss how to build a nuclear bunker.
Oh yeah. Wait, are you interested in the what is it
No,
called?
I think
Survivalist. What are they called? Preppers. The
isolationist
prepper
preppers.
community.
Yeah,
Prepper community, yeah. Which is that they're super prepared. Like if something happens, they've got a bunker, they've got canned food, they've got all this stuff prepared. They've
it's.
they've got a ham radio.
I find it's a bit fanatical. I prefer like, oh, I like growing potatoes and tomatoes.
Sure.
That's more my alley.
You enjoy gardening. Okay, interesting. I did some in high school as part of the green team, like the eco green team or whatever. It was kind of fun. Yeah, I remember taking home some literally tomatoes and potatoes actually,
Mhm.
and my mom made a sandwich from them, and I ate it, and I was like, this tastes way better than grocery tomato and potato. And maybe it was of the satisfaction of growing it myself in the garden
IKEA
or
effect,
IKEA effect. What is that?
where you feel better because you did something related to the process.
Wait, is that based on IKEA the company or?
Yes.
Oh, because you assemble the desk yourself, so they make you assemble the furniture, therefore it gives you more fulfillment. So that's part of their marketing, by the way, right?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And you can see that with Minecraft. Like you can see that with games too, to an extent. Where
Yeah.
I think the biggest example would be something like VR chat,
Yeah. Yeah.
Minecraft. Like,
Makes
yeah,
sense.
it's like you're invested in something once you've done something.
Right. Plus potato that was grown ourselves. Also, probably like it was organic and other things that did
Mhm.
like potentially impact the actual
Yeah.
objective quality and taste. It wasn't like mass produced and it was fresh, right? It was literally
Yes.
plucked there and then eaten a few hours later, when I got home, or like an hour later when I got
Yeah.
home. I
If you
like
look
biked
into
home.
like
Yeah.
actual supply chains, it's amazing how far you can get with refrigeration.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the things that we eat, they get like either flash frozen, they get washed, like they they could be like a week old, or more,
Yes.
like from being plucked. Yeah. So positioning as a service, and this is another like what I've noticed is because I've read so much Seth Godin, he has a blog as well that he writes that every day, and he's been writing a blog post every day for like 20 plus years. Um, what's interesting is that he basically his ideas are very unintuitive, but they work. And he goes into the concepts, he explains them. And I've realized I've been reading him for so long. I first read The Icarus Deception, one of his books. He's written 20 plus bestsellers. One of them was The Icarus Deception. That was the first one I read. I was like 22, so 5 years ago. And I can tell that it's starting to sink in to how I behave on a daily basis. So some of the conflicts I get into in the startup with, our co-founders, Tony, Andrew, Evan, I'm realizing they're coming from the fact that I've like absorbed all of these ideas and they haven't. And it's not that these ideas are objectively right, but they have potential, right? They have situations where they make sense.
Mm.
One of them, for example, is you should be glad to send people to your competition. And I was doing this in the New World Guild 1.5 years ago when I ended up. It's a long story. I won't get into it. A YouTuber started a guild. He hated the game. He made videos that how the game was bad. Then I started leading the guild. He supported me in it. But then we parted ways amicably, and I started my own guild. And a lot of people followed, like came. Um, but the idea was there when I interviewed people, I would ask them like, what are you interested in? What are you looking for? Here's what our guild does. Here's what we specialize in. Here's how we are. These are our values and how we function. If this isn't for you, I will help connect you with another guild. So that here's one guild that I know. They focus more on PvP. If you're interested in that, I'll connect you with their leader and get you an interview there, right? Or a tryout or something. No commitment from you. Whatever. Or I'll help you find this other thing. And what I realized that was doing, I didn't know why I was doing it. It was intuitive. I just wanted to help the person there. And people in my guild who saw me doing that didn't like it. They felt that I was pushing people away. But I realized when people then said, no, I want to stay with you, they were far more committed on that yes than if I didn't do what I did. And when
Right,
they said,
confidence.
yeah, and when I said no, or sorry, when they said no, I want to leave, or yes, I'm interested in PvP. One person said that, or I want to do wars in PvP. Can you get me connected with the Chad Guild? They were called the Chads. That's what it was great. Chad LLC or something. They had their whole theme and meme about being like Chad versus Virgin and all that. Um, they had a bunch of memes. It was really funny. I should put that based Giga Chad emote actually in the thread. Based Giga Chad. I love that GIF. Based Chad. Yeah, there's even an animated emote. But so basically they liked, and I realized that was building trust. That was so the goal of the interviews at first was for me to learn about people, but I realized the way that I conducted the interviews led to them learning about me and thus the organization and its values because I was leading it. But I wasn't able to figure out how to transfer those values, so the organization failed, and I failed as a leader in the end because I could not transfer those values down and scale. Like I did start delegating, people started taking responsibility from me. Those interviews actually led to me finding one person who's very passionate about Discord. He was like 14 years old. He loved Discord. He had a bunch of tools I didn't even know about where he could like see deleted messages and stuff. I was like, whoa, crazy, you know? And some of those add-ons are like they're potentially risky security wise, but you know,
Discord
he's
is
just,
a security problem.
yeah. Yeah. He was just trying things out, and I realized he was young, he was interested, he was passionate. So I made him put him in charge of Discord, and he loved it. He was very happy, and that only happened because we had an interview where we discussed off-topic things. And then another person, she's based in near Niagara Falls. Um,
Doxing all the people here.
I mean, I don't view it as doxing. It's such a big location. Yeah. I believe she works as a manager at
On
GameStop.
Earth.
What?
You live on Earth.
We live on Earth, yeah. We
Most
live on this planet. Good luck finding me. I mean, personally, if someone shows up at my door, I'd be happy to offer them a cup of tea. I mean, I don't know how to brew tea, but I would learn, you know.
If they showed up at my door, I'd be like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah, I would ask that, sure. But I think
Well, like,
most people are not going to spend thousands of dollars of their money and time and energy to try to hurt me. And now, if someone does that, I'll figure it out, you know. And maybe they can DDoS me. That's cheaper, easier.
Baseball bat.
Baseball bat? Yeah, baseball bat solution.
Yes.
My dad actually owns some guns and he's confident in defending his household and things like that. I'm not. So that's why he told me when he left for India, you lock the door. Like I keep the door unlocked, but I know I can handle myself. But when I leave, just please lock the door because you don't know. And he's correct. I don't know how to handle myself in a self-defense situation.
Legal nightmare in Canada anyway. So
Yeah, you don't have whatever. What are they called? Like you can't defend your land per se, your property. You can get into more trouble trying than not. It's weird.
because of the situation, and it's a whole thing. Let's not get into it.
We don't
but
have to get into
not
it.
worth
Yeah.
it, really.
Yeah. So to get back to the Seth Godin ideas and this key thing, so it's unintuitive to most people to realize why it is good to send people to your competitor. But the main reason is because then you position yourself as being amazing for the people who are right for you, right? And that most people don't think qualitatively about their customer. They just want any customer. But I would actually have 100 really high quality customers than 1,000 low quality ones because that 100 will grow into 1,000 high quality customers much quicker and easily, you know, relative. Whereas when I have 1,000 low quality customers, it means I've done something wrong already with my branding, marketing. It's hard to fix that. It's hard to turn 1,000 low quality customers into 1,000 high quality customers or 10,000, you know, even like medium quality. It's because your whole thing gets diluted, your whole marketing and audience. Yeah.
Works well with the media-rich environment we're in right now.
Yeah. And that's why I think you wrote a blog post called First 10. It was based on Kevin Kelly's idea of having a small amount of superfans and then growing it from there. So find 10 people who trust you, respect you, need you / listen to you. First 10. This in 2 words is the secret of the new marketing. These 10 people need what you have to sell or want it. And if they love it, you win. If they love it, they'll each find you 10 more people, or 100, or 1,000, or perhaps just 3. Repeat. If they don't love it, you need a new product. Start over. Your idea spreads, your business grows, not as fast as you want, but faster than you could ever imagine. And this dichotomy is really important in that statement, right? Because people don't realize that, and this is a military saying as well, right? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? Like things snowball. Progress incrementally snowballs on itself. So as you build up the right community and the right people, and we need to figure this out for our Discord, right? For all the indie game startup, for my podcast, and for the esports startup, because this is such a key concept. If we find the right people, and that's why I invited people like Josh, like Evie, you know, Josh Chimera, not my co-founder Josh, but a different Josh, because I noticed that they are proactive in other Discord communities. Yeah, like people like them are worth 100 like random people that you pick demographically, right? Because in 100 random people, you won't have one person like them usually. So statistically, it's worth it to really focus on getting those people in your Discord and engaging them. And this is also what a lot of marketing is about, right? How do you delight your customer? How do you give them an experience that no one else can give them or does give them, you know? Customer service, basically.
Give them something they need.
Not
So-
just something they
oh,
need, but like, okay, here's a story. Bonobo, Jean's clothing company. Long story short, I think they sold some dog food to someone somehow. I don't know how a clothing company did that. Maybe I'm getting the brands wrong, but they sold some dog food to someone. The guy called into customer service and he said, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but my dog passed away. Can I return the dog food? But I've opened the bag. He's already eaten some of it." Customer service rep was immediately like, "No problem. We'll handle this. Um, you don't need to return the dog food. Don't worry about mailing it back and all that. Feel free to give it away to a local shelter or throw it away, whatever you want to do. We'll refund your order immediately. Please just, take your time to grieve for your dog and don't worry about any of this. It's all handled." So in like 10 seconds, the guy's fixed it already. And the customers, gets off the phone, goes, grieves his dog, does whatever he does in his life.
buys
2
another
day,
dog.
what?
Buys another dog, or
Maybe. I don't know. It depends. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he takes some time to grieve and then he goes to buy another dog. I don't know. But what ends up happening is 2 days later in the mail, he gets a package. He opens it up. It's a hand-painted portrait of his beloved dog that he just lost, his family member. And it turns out that what had happened was the customer service rep looked up the social media, the Instagram or something for this customer, maybe the Facebook, and found a picture of the dog and then had a painting commissioned with company resources, with the freedom given by the company and independence. He didn't have to ask permission to do this, by the way, because the company knows that you as a customer service rep do whatever it takes to delight the customer, because we know we value that as a company. Spend the money you need to spend. It's fine. We're not going to look into it. We trust you. And under that kind of mandate and trust and demand, this kind of result can come, which is now this person, probably for the rest of their life, will be telling this story to different people, and they've become now a valuable ambassador of bonobos. And you also did something good for their life. Like, you made a human being happier. You made the world a better place by doing this as a customer service rep. And imagine how happy that customer service rep is at their job when they have the freedom to do things like this. When they have a creative idea to make someone's life better, they can use the company's money and they can do it. And it's a win for the company, it's a win for the rep, and it's a win for the customer. And thus a win for the world. And I think that is what good marketing looks like. And good business looks like.
I think that's good advertising. Marketing, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say that would be what the brand stands for unless you do it every single time. But even then, it's impossible. It gets into the nuance of like when should you do one-offs and what not too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
Yeah.
obviously it was good in that individual example, but you're not gonna have that happen every single time.
No, it won't happen every single time, but in the times when a person sees an opportunity, you need to have already built your company culture and structured it in such a way that they have the freedom to execute. And I can see that with our startup, we're going the opposite way. We're going towards bureaucracy, not away from it. We're going towards layers of approval and authority and permission and consent and all these things that actually slow down companies. Which is why I suggested like Zapier's core values. One of them was default to action, right? Realize that the cost of inaction is often higher than the cost of action, and that making a mistake is usually fixed easily, reversible, relatively cheap. But the cost of inaction can be hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of years in a business. But it's an invisible cost. It's harder to see. So I need to try to convince Evan and the others of that. But I think what I just told you might be a good argument. I'll just say the same thing to them, right? I'll note it on the timestamp. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, we've been going for a long time. I do want to respect your
I
time.
do have to get going soonish, but
Yeah.
just to
So
finish
let's try
off,
to wrap
like,
up on the marketing stuff. Yeah.
just going through the rest of the points. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to touch on because it's like, how important is specialization by product? Very important.
Can you make comments or like just note that down? Whatever's easiest under each point. So where's specialization? I'm looking. Oh yeah, there you
market
go.
special.
Yeah. Try to do something that shows that you wrote that and not someone else. Like we can put a different text color or you can bold it. Control B, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll just like
That works
just
too.
like
That works, yeah.
yes. Like I don't really have any comments on that because I haven't really applied myself to anything outside of video games and how this market space works. So it's hard to give effective comments on. I don't know how to market.
Try to pick the things where you think you could add the most unique insight or value.
Oh,
Because
sorry, I was
you
just
can't do
really
all of
going
them,
point by
right?
point, but yeah.
Oh, you're
That's
going to
fair
do all of them. I mean, and we can always do
I
a
was just
follow-up
trying to touch
interview
on
as well.
all.
Yeah. If you want to touch on all, that's fine. Yeah. But I want you to feel free to go into detail on the ones that you feel more passionate about, right? Or more knowledgeable about, or more, yeah, where your opinion is stronger, where you believe you have
more
something.
effective in certain ecosystems. Marketing, I think, is being used too broadly as a term there. Like,
Yeah. Maybe we need to understand. Yeah.
Like it's a weirdly phrased question.
Okay.
Because
Too
what is marketing
broad.
in certain ecosystems?
Right. Certain ecosystems. So basically, how is Josh defining marketing in his mind in this context of the sentence, right? So
what is the ecosystems?
Right. So I think what he's saying is soft products versus hard products, paper supplies, video games. Is marketing more effective in video games than in paper supplies, or vice versa?
So what is marketing in that
Yeah.
Because it's
Does
like,
it?
what is
Yeah.
marketing is everything you do. So is certain marketing strategies more effective?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird question to me because it's kind of like marketing is effective everywhere because you're doing it whether you want to be doing it or not, right?
Like doing certain things for video games will be
like
a lot
if
more
you
effective.
want to,
like Twitter
if you
gifts, I think.
if you want to have any,
but go ahead. Sorry.
No, finish your thought.
But just like certain like Twitter gifts are like great for grabbing. So like social media traction is huge for games because most games are played on computers, and then downloaded from a computer and from the internet. So it's like conversion rates are generally very good.
Right. Whereas social media might not
products.
connect with paper supplies because people in paper supplies might not be on computers all day, kind of thing, or consoles all day, or whatever it is. Okay, interesting. I didn't think about that. And by the way, that's one thing to note. All of our games are being designed, or at least the first two are being designed for computer, mouse, and keyboard, which means they will not be on consoles. Basically, they will never be on consoles.
Not worth development costs.
Yeah. But a lot of people ask, like, hey, will it be on consoles? We're like, we can't. We're designing it for keyboard and mouse. We're taking advantage of keyboard and mouse.
I mean, a lot. It depends on the games. Like, it's very, when working with Unity, like, this is more technical, but it's very easy to throw gamepad support in there.
We are using Unity, but it's just going to be hard to have, because especially with the second game, DD Robo, we'll go into that next time we talk, but it's like very complex control scheme. And with the first one, we're using keyboard and mouse. So and I know there was a Two Brothers game on PlayStation or something, or Xbox, that used two joysticks, one joystick for one brother, the other joystick for another. But that was much more simple movement and mechanics. Since we're doing multi-genre, each genre adds complexity, right? So if we limit ourselves to having to design for joystick, gamepad, it would get weird. But yeah, if we design the whole game, finish it, and then try to plug in a gamepad through Unity and see what happens, we could see, right?
There's very few games that cannot be played on both, in my experience.
Yeah, okay. We'll try it.
You just have to like, you don't even have to design with it in mind. You just have to convert. But it's
no, but like, I think that's the thing. Like, Josh hates that idea. Like, I think he generally hates, okay, we're going to build the whole thing without designing for this one thing that we do plan to eventually just convert or try. Because he would rather design with things in mind, because he views design as so key to everything. Meaning you need to plan, you need to design. That's the whole top-down thing, right?
Fair enough. Like, yeah, in my experience, the biggest annoyance with doing gamepad has been you have to change.
You have to change what?
Well, when you're doing a tutorial, you have to detect what the player's using.
And I've noticed that with games, actually. When I plug in the gamepad, sometimes it doesn't detect and there's problems.
How you convert and how you change control schemes.
Yeah.
Okay. PC.
Anyway,
yeah. You don't need to worry about that on something like Switch or game.
Yeah, I think I used Motion Enjoy or some apps that would basically convert a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 controller to work with PC. And then in those cases, sometimes the controller is just one of the joysticks is controlling my mouse cursor, So there are scuffed ways to convert for sure. So I'll mention it to Josh for sure, and I'll think about like we'll just convert.
It definitely has to come from design though. Like
it does.
I'm viewing it from the tech point of like, wow, we need like a circle that goes around the player that can go on this Joy-Con. Okay, that'll work.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. There's more design considerations, obviously.
It's similar to the soft goods, hard goods point you made, which is it's not worth doing hard goods until your soft goods succeed. So I also think it's not worth doing a lot of localization, a lot of conversion to other consoles. What is it called? Porting. Yeah, porting games to other consoles.
It's not even, it's not even consoles because there's a lot of gamepad can support days, and I just find that people like it, which is why I always try and do it when I can. Like, because otherwise you are going to get questions. Does this have gamepad support? Even if you say directly in the title, this does not have gamepad support. So it's like getting ahead of the problem, but it's not something that should be made like that. It's not a decision that should be.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead with the marketing stuff. And also, yeah, when you're thinking about a question, just read out the whole question for the people on the podcast. Like, because there will
Yeah,
be
because
people
I'm not
not
seeing.
watching the video. Yeah, yeah. Although I'm
Yeah.
realizing I'm only publishing on YouTube, not Spotify and stuff. So like,
So we don't have to worry about. Okay.
no, we still do because some people still listen to
Okay.
YouTube. I listen to YouTube podcasts with my
Oh, yeah,
phone
yeah.
on the side while I'm doing dishes or whatever. So yeah.
Data usage analytics when areas in which using metrics yields strong value.
I'm looking for your cursor. Where are you at?
I'm right below where we were.
Okay. Oh, you're here. Okay. Data usage / analytics when areas in which metrics yields strong value. Oh wait. Okay.
Online item leverage scarcity should go out of stock no less than 5%. What? Like that seems like a hard metric to be following. Yeah.
I think that's just an example. Like you can change the numbers, but is the conceptual idea of when we have inventory to worry about, online items leveraging scarcity. So scarcity is something I mentioned from Seth Godin's marketing to Josh, but I'm wondering if he's thinking about it differently. So one piece of context, he works at a liquor store, part time, right, to pay the bills, and it's across the street from his house, so it's very convenient. He lives in downtown, and I think he has learned some things about like he rose pretty quickly in the hierarchy of the store, from what I understand, because he quickly mapped out the store layout and became very good at restocking and understanding where things were. And so maybe he's drawing some connection between physical stockage and digital product scarcity stockage. Because, for example, let's say we have a timed sale, right? Yeah, I need to ask him about this question maybe because
Sales are more of an advertising technique in my mind. Like
Okay,
you do it
sales
to
and-
try and get, because like, yeah, we don't have like with online items, you don't have scarcity because you're not selling a product.
No, but perceived scarcity is the key thing. Perceived scarcity is part of marketing, right? So when you have a time limit, you will,
yeah,
like for example, I want to buy a friend Dying Light 2, it's on sale, but I only have 24 hours, right? So now there's perceived scarcity. Time is the scarce resource. I have to make
you
a
have that
decision.
You usually have that with multiplayer games. It applies less to
Single player games.
like in that sense, it has to be from a sale. Which, like I said, I don't think you should be. I don't generally think having a game go on sale day one is ever of that an ideal strategy.
I mean, I've seen like 5 or 10% sales day, like week 1 or day 1 to 3. I've also seen that people wait and then they do a sale maybe a month in or 2 months in when things have died down a bit and they want to extend the long tail of their sales curve. But
because it seems cracking down on people abusing the sales to try and drum up ratings.
Yeah, because I mean that was Steam's fault in the first place though. Like their algorithm was like too
well, it
strongly.
wasn't their fault. It's just it was abusable.
Their responsibility, let's say.
Yes.
They caused the algorithms. They basically
making them money. So yeah, it's their fault for making right. It's
no. It's not just that they created a system that people then exploited, and so they have to fix the system, which they did. So it's like a bug, right? There's a bug, and people can progress faster than
literally it was a bug. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they fix it, or it becomes a feature, like Riot Games, like it likes to do with League so many times. Bugs become features. That happens in every game, I'm pretty sure, right? Every long-term multiplayer game, live service game.
Either it's too expensive to fix, or they can't fix it. Yeah.
Or they realize that it actually made the game better. Yeah. They realize the players like it more than the original design. And that means the design isn't perfect, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, sorry.
Design is never perfect. But yeah, I
let's skip this because I think this
because scarcity is hard to justify. Like I'm not too familiar with sales models and like when I know like
it's not just sales. There's other ways of doing scarcity as well, right? For example, we could have limited pre-orders. We could have a wait list, like the Mid Lane Academy and the School of or Mid Lane Academy and saltu.gg, coaching academies in League of Legends. They have a wait list, so you have to sign up for the wait list, and they open slots slowly, and that's partly because they want to keep a small community, and so when people graduate, they add more people, and then they do grow a little bit over time as well. But that is also leveraging scarcity. Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to do that with games. Because you're just trying to capture as big as market as possible to get as much word of mouth, right?
No, but that's the thing. MLA and saltu are both, I believe, bigger than Coach Cupcake's School of Support. They were all three on the original Direwolves team in Oceania, and so they innovated in the Oceanic scene. So they all run similar academies. Mm-hmm. But School of Support has no wait list. You just sign up, right? I'd say it's the smallest one, but it's also started a bit later. MLA has about 500 or more people, and they charge $30 per person, so that's $15,000 a month that they're making in gross revenue. I think some people are grandfathered in at lower rates, like $20 a month, before they raise the price. So they're making a bit less than that on average, but let's say 10 to 15,000 a month gross revenue from subscribers alone. They're making money from other things as well, their podcast but that shows that they grew sustainably because they still have a tight-knit community and they're finding ways to scale with assistant coaches and other things. But what's interesting to me about what they're doing with the scarcity is the waitlist means that when you get an email, and I got an email, you immediately sign up, right? I signed up on behalf of, what was it, Chris, right? Chris and Ryan, our mid laners who wanted to learn. Ryan also signed up for the waitlist. He's our sub mid laner. He's chosen mid as his main role. So for $30 a month, when that waitlist pops up, people are going to sign up, right? Whereas School of Support, because it's always available, they can sign up anytime. For example, there's one guy, I hosted a trivia contest. He won a prize to get coaching from School of Support, like to sign up for the honor roll, but he's a jungler. So I PayPal'd him the money and I saw he never signed up to honor roll. And that's partly because there's no scarcity, but I did follow up with him. He did explain that they actually signed up for team coaching for the entire amateur team that they have. So I was like, oh, great. That's great. Yeah. Coach Cupcake still gets the money. It's just they're using it in a different form. So that's awesome. So I guess there's so many different forms of scarcity. When we get to my item here of scarcity, we can do that next discussion. We can discuss more because I would want to look up Seth Godin's idea of scarcity. But yeah, go ahead. You can keep moving through the doc.
I have a strong insight regarding how people perceive our brand. Where
fear scarcity.
When I go to this isn't part of scarcity. This is like this bit here. Are we also skipping this, or because it's like the data analytics?
It feels like yeah.
Experience of us to direct decisions.
By the way, something Josh does is he empathizes with people, and so part of why our design is so complex and he's such a good systems designer is because he's able to design things for multiple personas, like many more than. Huh?
View all sides of an argument.
Sorry, what?
View all sides of an argument.
The all sides.
View all sides of an argument.
Okay, I need to write that down. I can't perceive it from audio for some reason.
My voice is giving up.
By the way, that reminds me, I should drink some water. If you haven't drank water, you should get some.
I've been drinking coffee. It's just I'm out of coffee. That's why I need to get going soon anyway. So
yeah, we'll call it soon. How about we give it 10 more minutes and then we just have a hard stop in 10 minutes?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, it's better. Yeah.
Of an argument. Yeah, my voice is just getting really low.
The size of an argument? Is that what you're saying?
Sides.
View all sides of an argument. Yes. And now there are many, many sides. There's way more than two. So personas are specifically characterizations of people. So for example, let's say you have a 40-year-old single mom who thinks like this, right? It includes demographics, psychographics, all of that.
Stereotypes.
Not just stereotypes, but you can get really specific. Like, so you fulfill a persona. But yeah, let's call them stereotypes for now, to simplify it. And basically, he's able to design our game to match the needs of, say, 5 personas. Whereas many games may only be able to design for 2 or 3. And positioning, Seth Godin in there talks about the 2-axis grid, right? But later on in the video, he also mentions you could go 3 axes, you could go 4 axes, you could go 5 axes. If you're the kind of person who likes playing 3D chess, then you can start to do that. And Josh is that kind of person. So he's able to, and he can't write all this down, right? It's very intuitive for him. It's hard to put into words for him because it's just from experience and learning. But when you start going into more axes and dimensions, it becomes exponentially more complex. But if you can successfully pick a dot on a 3-axis matrix instead of a 2-axis matrix, your positioning becomes even more impactful. Because the more you niche down, ironically, Jonathan Stark talks about this as well, like pigeonholing yourself and why it's good. It feels emotionally bad for many people because they think, oh no, I'm not reaching as wide as an audience I should. Like, oh, I'm only going to market to environmentalists who are karate students, right? Who are interested in karate. That seems like a really, really too niche demographic. But you actually find that the more you specialize and niche down, the more leads you get actually, objectively. Because
it's easier to appeal to that very
exactly.
niche
You
base,
learn about those specific people and they're like, holy shit, there's nobody out there who is targeting just me. Like, this is perfect for me. This is what I was looking for. This is mine. Whereas if it's just like, oh, I'm trying to help everybody with their problems, doing everything related to web development, it's kind of like, why would I choose this guy over the other guy? All right, I'll go with the other guy. He's cheaper, whatever. But they will literally pay double, triple, whatever, because you are for them. You're the right fit. And it's an intangible quality. So that kind of relates to scarcity too, but it's a different kind of scarcity.
It's hard to judge online scarcity with these kind of things because you need to be in order to know a niche exists, there needs to be a product that proves the niche exists.
Right. Yeah. Anyway,
continue. So by the very nature, to have a product for the niche, or
Exactly.
you have a very intuitive sense of the niche itself.
Yeah. Either intuitive and ideally we should find a way to turn our intuition. That's why we're writing all this down, right? We need to find a way to turn it into explicit something that we can improve and reliably replicate as well, a process. So what did you write last? View all sides of an argument. Okay. Simple, easy KPI flags to set up without robust data tracking systems. Any idea?
I'm gonna Google that real quick. Key performance indicators.
Yeah. Oh, it was the abbreviation. Okay, yeah. So things like, for example, oh, how many sales did we have yesterday versus today? What changed when we did when we put a sale on? How many extra sales do we get more than the average per day? And so that becomes data analytics, sort of simple.
And I'm
easy,
gonna
I
guess
get
it
you.
depends on what your goals are and where you are. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Unit
sure there are ones you could set up to
Review.
try and grab, but
Yeah.
the thing is, we have robust data tracking systems built into Steam, built into Itch. Like all these sales points have these, so it's not like you need to set them up. You just need to measure it and try and define
Yeah.
it.
Steam Analytics has all these set up. Just piggyback off of them for now.
You can grab them. Like it just depends on how much
Yeah. We could just watch
analytics you're
one
willing to
Clark
do.
Tank episode and use everything that he's using, and we'd have a good baseline already, right? So that's easy enough. Where else do we want to move on to? We have 6 minutes. And I do want to spend the last 2 minutes wrapping up a bit, thanking you, maybe summarizing some stuff we discussed. Or I guess I can add that in
Good luck
post.
summarizing this, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to summarize or even timestamp.
Data symbols. I do think that's pretty hard to do within games. Like I'd say that's easier within online markets within the games like CS:GO's Dragon Lord.
Right, cosmetics.
But I don't think
How do
games
we do
themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think owning a game is like I'd say maybe beating a game is like Dark Souls has managed that to become a status symbol within the games, but that's also just sheer quality of their games.
Not just that. What was that guy? Shit. Do you know the guy who makes like programming games? What was it? He made
There's a lot of
programming type
those.
puzzle games. Yeah, Zach something. He basically said that they designed their game to shit out GIFs, and that was their marketing because you had buttons to create GIFs in the game and upload them to social media, and so then the game marketed itself through people wanting to share how they solved a particular level in a creative way, right?
Yes.
And so that's
Like,
one way to do status symbols in games. What was
I think it's like relates to the 5 players of what people are looking for, like their social achievers, explorers, completionists.
Our marketing was making the game shit out GIFs. I can't believe that Google search worked, or DuckDuckGo search. Zach programming game shit out GIFs. That was what I searched for, and it was the 5th result or whatever.
Okay, so there's 4 of them.
So it's Zach Barth, this Opus Magnum. I played this game. It was like an alchemy game. Does this screenshot look familiar to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you know that game. Yeah, I do it.
I think I watched the GDC. I haven't played it, but watched the GDC talk on it.
Okay, I don't think I've watched his GDC talk on it, but okay.
I think it was that. It might have been a different one.
Yeah, no, I think that's him.
It's the hexadecimal sidebar. Yeah.
Yeah, the basic idea is that you are solving more and more complex puzzles. You're setting up sequences of emergence into them, like immersion interactions between your pieces of that you have. You have limited resources, and then you can share GIFs with a click of a button. So that's kind of like the Dark Souls thing. You get to show off your creativity, ingenuity, and how you solve problems. So that's, I think, where perceived value and status symbols can come in. More status symbols. Yeah. So okay, I'll put that example. What was it called? Opus Magnum example. Shit out GIFs example, and then Dark Souls beating a level, or like that streamer who plays Elden Ring with her brain, right? Or on a banana, or whatever, right? Like
I wouldn't say that's a marketing strategy. That's like for a personal branding.
Sure, but designing a game that enables that is very different, right? Like they designed their game to make it GIFable. Other like Duck Game also designed to be GIFable, right? But that's different. It's like how easy is your game to share, and how much does it reward a person when they share something about it, which is a GIF or a tweet or telling a story. Like Hearthstone was designed, the card game, right? It was designed for interesting storytelling moments. That's why they have so much RNG, right? Like Ben Brode was talking about this. Now he works on Marvel Snap. They're doing some interesting stuff there. That's his own studio, Second Dinner. I was a moderator on the Marvel Snap server, so I got some insight into how it works. And the game is just interesting to look at from a design perspective. But okay, do you want to just go through these? Marketing budget. time or money, how to view time versus money from a marketing perspective, well, generally, and then indie game specific. So yeah, what do you think should be our marketing budget in terms of time and money? Some people say like 50% of your game development budget or something, right?
That's generally the safe bet. It depends on your actual budget, I would say, and like where you think you can get perceived. Like it's about meeting your goals, and like it's more of a wraparound of like, hey, if you want to do this, you think do this, and like how much do you have to work with? I think obviously setting a budget will help you because it'll help you try and get the most value from your money.
Yes, so let's set a budget first. So step 1, set budget. So I'll use that. So my goal before we have our next conversation is to have a budget for you, right? That'll help me
actually be able to accurately give you, like I think that would be a better conversation with my teammate.
Oh, Aria, because did he do more of the financial stuff?
He handled more of the marketing.
Okay,
like
he handled more.
I was generally involved in some of the decisions, but it was his area of expertise. So
right. Do you think he'll enjoy sharing as much as you do?
He loves talking about marketing. He loves talking about marketing. This is his cup of tea.
Yeah. And this is what I realize as I interview people, I will have more people to interview just from the people I interview, right? Like it'll just snowball. Aria loves talking about it. Okay, perfect. And yeah, let's wrap up here. Thanks for your time. What did I want to say? Yeah, it was really nice having you on. I know that we went on a lot of tangents, but personally, I prefer when that happens anyway. I know it's not the best experience for the listener. I'll do my best to mitigate it with timestamps or something. But other than that, yeah, I'm glad you were on. Oh, what do you think of a title for this episode? I'd like to brainstorm that a bit with you if you're able to think. So, for example, I was thinking I could do Ordinary Marketers, Extraordinary Choices. I'll talk to my brother as well because he didn't like the title.
I think it's a bit too long.
Too long, yeah. Also, what
it has to be a pun related to market.
A pun related to market. Okay. You don't have to come up with it right now. We have time to like.
Yeah. I'll come up with it later. I'll like send you an example, but like.
And what do you want to be described as? Like, if we picked a 2 or 3 word phrase to describe you, like indie game dev, would it be student of life? Would it be like, curious?
Dev.
Curious dev tech guy or something,
Yep, dev. Yep, developer.
Okay, curious developer. How about that?
No, not here.
No, you don't like it?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. What is yep?
The yep cock. You know that emote?
I don't. I don't think most people will know it, so it doesn't work. What is yep? Hold on. Maybe if I type it in on my Discord, something will pop up. Yep. Oh, yeppers? Like the Pepega? Oh, okay. I'll put an image. I mean, maybe. Wait, this is you? How is this you? Yep.
It's because it's funny.
Just because of the dartboard, it gets inverted colors. You're a Yep developer. No,
Yep Market. I think that's the name of the podcast. Yep Market.
Yep Market. And then just have that as the logo. Okay, I can talk to my brother. But for you, I'm going to put maybe curious indie dev or something in that's
I'm trying to make it as an indie dev. It's not I'm not saying it's the smartest one, but it's definitely the funnest.
Like path or goal?
Yes.
Not the smartest path, goal, but funnest. Okay, so maybe fun seeker. fun seeking dev. I mean, this sounds like a dating profile now.
Oh, god damn it.
but the funnest. Okay, let's call it here. I'll stop the recording. And I'll put an outro with the music and stuff. I'll record it separately. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Please give me feedback. I will put all of these show notes in the Discord. I'll try to put them in the YouTube description, but Discord is just way better at handling embedded links and things like that, and navigation with Discord search and whatnot. But I'll link this thread in the YouTube description so anyone can refer to it in the future when they join the Discord and watch the YouTube video. All right, see you everyone.